You can, whatever. Hi, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Running to Write. I am Ben Pick, and this is my 100th episode. I want to thank all of you so much for joining me, and I'm going to start playing my game. If this would work.
That's not a euphemism, is it?
Yeah, my game controller is not working at the moment, so that's a problem. Let's see what we got here. Can you pop out my screen, and then I'll troubleshoot it, and then just do... Well, no. So stop sharing that. There's a remove button. There you go. So now just zoom in on everyone else, and you can do your intros. So we're doing this out of order. Richard, take it away. You have the intro.
Oh, jeez. I'm me. I'm the author of this. Go and buy it now. I'm from the UK, obviously. Unlike R.C. Scott, I'm actually a real Brit, not a pretend one like him. Really glad to be here to be supporting Ben in his 100th episode. Spectacular. Oh, and he's written this book. Oh, there it is. I'll just wave that in front of the camera. There we go.
Hi, Richard.
Hello. Our paths have finally crossed.
I've been waiting a long time for this.
Okay.
So zoom in on RC. RC, you got your intro right now.
Hi, folks. This is RC Scott. I write horror stories. I talk on YouTube. I'm now a blogger, and I guess I now pretend to be British.
Awesome.
Richard's words, not mine.
Okay, cool. Well, we have stalled for long enough. I got everything troubleshot for right now, and you can add my thing back to the screen. Cool. So right now, I am playing my favorite game, Chrono Trigger, and we want to do active. So I'm going to start playing, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to open up the panel for much bigger discussions. Right now, it is on mute, so unfortunately, you will not hear the fantastic soundtrack that goes along with this game. But now that I have that out of the way, and now that I'm starting to play, I just want to thank all of you for being here so much. I would not have made it to episode 100 without all of you, and I'm extremely appreciative of every single one of you who has shown up week in, week out, even if you come in and it's been a while, whatever. First of all of you who are here today, you're all officially awesome. And for all of you who will watch this later, again, awesome. And for everyone who regularly watches my episodes, who regularly supports me, this is such an incredible community of fellow authors and people who are just interested in writing or interested in showing their support for this channel. And I just want to thank you all. So moving on ahead with this game, I'm going to do a very quick intro to Chrono Trigger. I'll do my best to keep it to 5 minutes, but I can easily talk for the full 2.5 hours. Spoiler it, I'm going to play this for about 2.5 hours. I'm going to go from the start all the way to the end of time, which coincides with my shirt right here. And it's going to be a critical point in the game at which everything sort of opens up a little bit more. And I'm going to play all the way through. So you start off as Chrono. Now that I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers, but I will hint at what's to come. And we forgot our friend's name already. So fun fact, you can see in this image, her hair is brown, but in actuality, it's purple. So there's just a slight difference between the tiles, the actual character icon, and everything else. Axel, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here for episode 100. It is awesome to see you here. And yes, the Cosmic Weirdo. All right. So I'll be playing through the end of time, which is why I wore my Old Man of Time t-shirt. And I'm going to ask my mom for money because I want to get 200 G's. All right, I'm going to be playing through this game a little bit quicker than might be expected. So I'm going to be trying to avoid a lot of the smaller things. I might not talk to everyone, but I'm going to say hi to Luca's mom. Awesome. She's in... And now that we're here, so this story begins with the silent protagonist, a good stand-in for the gamer. As the game was created in 1995, that's kind of understandable. They were limited in the hardware and how much they could actually include within each game. So you don't really have a whole lot of options. You don't have a whole lot of choices and branching paths, although this game does do some really good things. I am going to do what I like to call the criminal run, where everything I do is wrong. I'm going to steal an old man's sandwich. I'm going to check on the girl's necklace before I check on the girl herself. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a moment, because everything about this game hints that we are controlling time and that our choices matter. But in actuality, it doesn't matter until much, much later on in the game. So now I've taken her dependent, and now I check to see how she's doing. And in fact, I'm going to say no because I'm a jerk. She can't have it back.
Ben.
And this,
You're a thief, a common thief.
oh, we're going to go to jail, and you will be called a common thief.
You thieving thief.
Shoot, I should have said sorry. Whatever. So she's now joining us, and she forgot her name because that Marley may or may not be her real name. And like I said, I'll be doing the criminal run. So I'm stealing the old man's lunch so I can beat up a robot. I'm going to try and sell her rare pendant. And I'm not going to be patient. I'm not going to return a girl's cat. And I'm not going to be patient when she's trying to buy candy. So let's see what Melchior has. And Melchior has some really good stuff. So I can get an iron blade. I think I want that. The load sword is something I can get much later. So I'm going to not buy that. And I'm not going to buy her anything either. He lives on the continent to the east. I wonder if somebody named Melchior is relevant. And I'm going to say, yeah, sure. I'll try and talk to that young lady into selling her priceless pendant. To which she says no. All right. And Chrono Trigger is such a tightly coupled game. It teaches everything we need to know in easily digestible formats, such as in this fair. We already get the experience of walking around. There's a lot of mini games that teach us timing basics within the game, how to press buttons. So there's this one which teaches us that we want to do it right. I did this right in practice. There we go. So I rang the bell and I get a silver point in my card. Now at this point, you can kind of brute force your way into getting a whole lot of silver points so that way you can sell it for gold and get that load sword that's really good. So right now I'm going to try guzzling soda as fast as I can. Of course, this is an English translate game, and originally in the Japanese version, I think it's sake. So I did not win this game. And you'll see that there is a girl who is missing her cat. There's also a cat over here on the left side. So if I talk to the cat once, the cat will follow me. And in theory, I could bring the cat back to the little girl. But if I talk to the cat twice, it runs away. So little girl does not
just
get
threw
her.
it over the ledge there for a second.
And let me see here. Okay. So Luca is up top, but we can't go there yet because they're still setting up, and they tell me to come back in a while, which means I'm going to go beat up Luca's robotic machine. And you see this old man who's really excited for sitting down for his lunch. That'll come up in just a second. Anyways, this teaches us the basics of fighting. And one of the really cool things about Chrono Trigger is that your location on the screen matters. So there are special techniques, there are regular attacks, but certain enemies you can hit only when you're close. Marley has a long-range weapon, but when she gets up close, she actually just hits him with her crossbow for less damage. And it teaches us everything we need to know in these consumable tests of progressing difficulty. The pacing and music of the story is perfect. Now I'm going to talk more about the crescendo across the game as the characters learn more technical skills. Right now, I don't think anybody has anything that they can do. So we just won our first battle. And for right now, the history of Chrono Trigger is that it... What? Oh, so you added... Oh, sorry. Yeah, JD, we'll give you an intro in just a second. And I'm sorry, I'm doing an intro on Chrono Trigger. But for right now, the history of Chrono... But thank you for joining, JD. It's awesome. And I love your shirt. You are really cool. So right now, my guys are injured. And I can go back and fight the boss some more. But I would, if I did that, I would lose. So I'm going to do is I'm just going to steal this man's sandwich and get fully healed.
That is a great shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
Well, so now and I think he yells at me if I said, yep. Oh, well, his lunch is gone. Let's see here. They're still staying up. Why don't you come back in a while?
By the way, I kind of love that there are a couple of games coming out with this graphic style, but like slightly elevated. I haven't played Octopath Traveler, but just looking at it, I go like, oh yeah, I want to play that.
Yeah, there's actually a whole bunch of indie games that are coming out. I think it's Sea of Eden is already out. There's a couple of others that are made by the Dream Team that did this. And speak about the Dream Team. So this idea was created by 3 different fantastic storytellers. We have Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball. So that's why a lot of these character art pieces look like characters from Dragon Ball. So there's a race that's going on here. You can bet on the person who's going to win the race. There's a lot of little mechanics thrown in this fair that teach you how to do things throughout the game. I'm not actually going to do this, but this teaches you how to move. This teaches you button combinations. In addition to Akira Toriyama, there is Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. So again, if any of this feels familiar, Square is the same company that made Chrono Trigger, and they also made all the Final Fantasies. So what am I
Let's say it definitely has like a old school Final Fantasy Zelda vibe to it.
I feel obligated for anyone who was a point and click gamer in the LucasArts Sierra like time frame. If you enjoyed those games, Ron Gilbert, who made Maniac Mansion,
there we go. Lucas myself set up
a game called Thimbleweed Park, which is in that like 8-bit style, 16-bit, I guess.
So she wants some candy, and of course, I'm not going to sit there and listen to her. So I'm just going to try and walk off, and she pulls me back because I'm a giant jerk. There's no need to drag me by the arm like some kidnapper. Uh-oh. I wonder if that's going to be relevant. Now, in addition to Hironobu Sakaguchi, there's also Yuji Horii, the creator of Dragon Quest. So you have the creators of Dragon Ball, Final Fantasy, and Dragon Quest all came together to create this fantastic game.
Beyond Squaresoft being the unifying line.
RC, you're cracking up a little in the audio. Or is that JD?
That's
JD, sorry.
It's me too. Exterminate.
How about now?
Yeah, that's much clearer.
Okay. Damn these headphones, when they don't want to cooperate. Apart from Squaresoft being the unifying link, anyone that worked on Secret of Mana also worked on Chrono Trigger? Because there are some graphic elements that you go like,
Yeah, I don't honestly know the full team, but it would make sense between that and this. Also, I think there's some overlap in Super Mario RPG, maybe a few of them. But yeah, like Lord of the Rings, Chrono Trigger establishes a lot of that foundational framework that is spread throughout all the RPGs, especially at that time, but even now. So like you said, there's a whole lot of indie games that are being made that are sort of a revolution because they're going back to the retro. So they're going back to the 16-bit era and telling fantastic stories with slightly seemingly worse graphics, although you can be incredibly expressive with these pixel arts. And there's a lot that can be gained when you aren't necessarily focusing on years and years of just motion capture. So this is one of those foundational games for RPGs, just like Lord of the Rings.
Too much polish sometimes just takes away for the experience. I think that's part of why I really gravitate towards Nintendo, because since their hardware is always the lightest of the bunch, they have to make up elsewhere. From recent memory, Owlboy has that retro look, an amazing score, and interesting game mechanics, and a very lovely story that I think just hits on so many points that it goes back to how can we make this not just pretty, but a cool experience and a new experience and a different experience. And I think that's one of the best ones that I've played in recent memory.
And yeah, so it's incredible to think about some of the things that they had to do to make these games work. Like with Pokemon, I don't remember the full story, but they basically had to crunch down each individual Pokemon's details and physical attributes because they couldn't store 151 Pokemon on a Game Boy and actually play it. So they had to like compress the files, and they kind of like reverse the actual images so that when it gets expanded out, it looks normal, but otherwise it looks odd as just pure data.
You mentioned
the way that's stored in data.
You mentioned independent games going back to this old format back in the old days. You've seen in the mainstream as well. I saw that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game coming out, and it's taking it back to that old school arcade style. I think it was Shredder's Revenge or whatever it was, like, going across the screen. Oh, Shell Shock! I love that game, and I play the crap out of it at the arcade and on my SNES. And I probably will get that game just out of that.
Everything I've heard about is fantastic. And one of the things that you actually can't hear in this game, because I don't want to get copyright violations, is the stunning soundtrack. So Masato Kato helped write this. Sorry. The music was initially composed by Yasunori Matsuda, who fell ill largely due to the burdens of this game. And then Nobuo Uematsu from Final Fantasy finished up composing the music. So I'm actually getting the main Chrono Trigger theme as I'm traveling through time, which this might look reminiscent of a particular void in a certain series. So you can see where I'm getting my inspiration from.
Doctor Who.
And you'll see that we are now in a mountain that we don't know where it is. And we are following the mysterious woman who has been kidnapped. And we're suddenly attacked by monsters who don't look anything like the monsters we've seen before. Yeah. And in addition to the big three, so the big three, Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball, Hironobu Sakaguchi of Final Fantasy, and Yuji Horii of Dragon Quest, you also have Masato Kato, who helped write the script, and he went on to do just groundbreaking work across the video game industry. I think he did some work with Final Fantasy, and he is prominent. Every single person who was on this dream team goes off to lead a incredible career that is still being. Some of them are still working in the industry today. And then every aspect of this game makes it timeless. So we are now in 2023. Like I said, the graphics, this looks dated to the 90s, but even so, it is still so much fun to play. And this is, like I said, a timeless game, especially now that 16-bit indie and retro games are making a comeback. So we can equip the Power Glove. Give me some more power. I don't need speed. I need power.
As long as it's not the real Power Glove, which really didn't work.
Hey, don't mess with that game. What was the movie that made that popular? It was like The Wizard or something.
The Wizard with Fred Savage.
Yep.
That's actually how I found out about the World Whistle, I'll admit.
All right. So something really cool. So with the Cyclone, you'll see how where they are physically on the screen, I can hit two people at once. That's not always the case, but here it does. Oh, nope. I screwed that up. A guy that I was attacking moved out of the way, so now the Cyclone only hit one person. So had he been closer on the screen, it would have hit two people, which is why you want to not just press A and just attack. You want to time your attacks, and you want to use skill and technique to do what you're trying to do.
Are you dishonoring the time-proven tradition of button mashing?
Yes.
It's still a strategy.
Also, fun fact, you can see when you save, you kind of get a hint of the chapter that you're in. And so the queen returns. Well, that gives you a hint of what we're trying to do or what may or may not happen. And there's a town there I'm not really going to explore because, like I said, I'm kind of on a mission to get to a certain point. So I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. And this time, I think I can time my Cyclone attack so that it actually hits everyone. Yep. So if I aim for the guy in the middle, I can actually hit everyone.
Look at those trees, man. Those trees, even by today's standards, they look cool.
Yep. And they got good depth to them and everything. But because the attack was spread out, this guy survived. So it does more damage to everyone, but it doesn't necessarily hit them all. Like, it doesn't do the full damage to everybody. If I come down here, I can get a power. I have to kill some people first, and then I can get my power tap. Ooh, this is going to be tough. So can you just make sure that nobody else is... Oh. Cool. Just want to make sure that nobody else is joining.
And was Chrono Trigger the first one where you could avoid enemies?
Yes, and I'm actually going to go into a dungeon that shows that really, really well. Yep, so I can get a power tab. And again, I'm all about power. Chrono Trigger is pretty good for attacking. He's not the best magician. He's not the best. He's not the best. He's not the strongest, but he is certainly one of the more all around. So you see how that bush is moving? If I were to go closer to it, an enemy would pop out and attack me. But because I'm avoid that, I didn't get hit by it. And this might be trouble. Yep, this is going to be trouble. So I'm going to probably hit the ones that are closest to me because they're more likely to hit me first. I'm out of mana, so I can't actually do anything. And this is going to be trouble. Luckily I saved before I got here, and I can do a tonic. But as I'm trying to explain, this is a visual, musical, and storytelling masterpiece created by craftsmen at their peak. And that's why Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite games. You'll see hints of the inspiration through my own works. You'll see just incredible passion. I'm going to be talking about all throughout. I'm going to be putting in my own little tidbits and trying to share what makes this game so incredible. And I'll also be sharing unique things that are, or details about it, which are basically unique to Chrono Trigger.
It's funny you mentioned Dragon Ball, and now after watching that, it's like you just defeated a bunch of Namekians.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys look like straight up Namekians.
Oh, it's even better in the art for Chrono Trigger itself.
Yeah,
which is something that most games don't do anymore. But within the box art, within the instruction manual, everything. And there's actually in the 1999 version of this game and every subsequent version after this, they added in hand-drawn animations for pivotal moments. And you can definitely see that Akira Toriyama made those, made the character designs, made those little small videos. The intro itself is so you see the Chancellor walking off because the Queen returned. I wonder if the Chancellor is disappointed that the Queen returned because maybe something is not all that it seems. Now let me go back and get that. Cool. So we got a tonic. And we came to the castle. We were about to be stopped by some guards, but the Queen vouched for us. And we've never been to this castle before. So I wonder what's going on. Wait a minute. That looks like the girl who left our party.
Second.
So come nearer, sir. Giggle. Uh-oh. Giggle fooled you, didn't I, Chrono? Huh. This is so weird because we're in a castle that looks much older than the castle that's in our time. Have we have visited that castle? But yet, the person who was in our party is the Queen. That doesn't make any sense. And uh-oh, something's wrong.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Thank you for that. All right. So the Queen just disappeared, which is, a problem. And then I just robbed the Queen. And now I'm just going to make a casual escape like nothing happened. Of course not. I mean, I might as well be honest. All right. And there's some incredible details about Chrono Trigger. I'm not obviously going to get this point, but everything up to a major breaking point in the game. In a game about time travel, we have no impact on time itself. So what's going to happen here is we are going to find out that the Queen, this area, is under siege by a man named Magus. And, Magus was defeated in the past. We will eventually in this game go on to defeat Magus. But that was going to happen no matter what, whether we travel back in time or not. So everything in our time traveling journey, as much as it seems like we have an impact, we really don't until a specific moment that the entire game shifts. And what's so incredible about that one moment is that you feel like you're going to beat the game in that moment. Everything about it is leading up to this incredible crescendo where we are learning all of our abilities. If you fight everyone in this game once, this game is very good about not needing to what's the phrase? Grind. Thank you. Not need to grind. So if you beat every enemy once, just before this pivotal moment, you will be fully maxed out in your magic. You won't be fully maxed out in level, but you will have all the magic, which means you'll have all of the double and triple attacks that are available to you. And okay. So everyone says that the queen is acting rather odd. And now we got to try and figure out what happened to the queen. She escaped, but she was secure in her room. And actually, whatever. I'll be fine. I'll save it at the end. So everything about this game is building up to this one pivotal moment where we think that we're going to beat the game. And that's when the game fully opens up as this incredible, incredible experience. So like I said, I'm trying to hug the walls so that I don't fight enemies. And shoot, I closed down that tab. Well, I have it open in my phone, so I'm going to look at that. So let me ask you, open this up to the panel, and what video games were inspirational to you, or what games were fundamental into making you into a gamer, or what games taught you that storytelling could be done in multiple mediums, like video games?
That's 3 questions. Pick one.
Hey, take it away. You guys at the panel, I'm going to be focusing on playing for a moment. So you guys, I want to hear you all talk. I've been talking for a while.
Why don't you each tell us what your favorite video game of all time is? That seems like a good place to start.
Sure.
Fave game. Oh, Lord.
So yeah, you see that Luca has purple hair.
I mean, I don't even have to think about this. Mine is The Secret of Monkey Island.
And yeah, you'll see that there's these mystery boxes all over. Sorry, I'm going to try not to do this too much, but when there are things going on in the game that are worth noting, I want to mention them. But yes, thank you, Secret of Monkey Island. It's fantastic.
Secret of Monkey Island, because I love a comedic, just a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, but also like has a really great story to tell.
Have you seen the remake?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
I
have
haven't
it.
played it yet.
Okay, I'm very curious to play that one because that's a game I've heard about for a long time and I wanted to play it, and now that it's available, everyone is saying this is a good port, you should get it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Alan Wake, which is a bad port, and everyone's saying avoid it on the Switch and get it elsewhere.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I got the remastered version of Secret Monkey Island, and I thought it was fun. So here I'm going to try and do Cyclone. So I messed it up. I should have done it on the left side first and then on the right side, but now I kind of did a bowling pin 9-10 split, and so now it's going to be much more difficult to hit
Wait,
that.
are you talking about the remake of Secret of Monkey Island or the newly released game?
I don't. There's a new game that's on the Switch that I'm gonna get, but I am of the mind that
like in September they released a new Secret of Monkey Island game, but it's my understanding that that wasn't a port of the original.
I don't know.
There's like an original three or 4 games in that series, and the first 2 are like amazing.
Okay.
But I do want to play the new one.
Yeah. So the remaster is really good. I will say that I got the remastered version, which I played through. It's just updated graphics. Everything else is the exact same.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. In terms of favorite game, so hard. I would say either Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, which is saying something because I love some of the other games, but that one, everything that I wanted, I got in spades. But then I go to Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III, depends on which version you played, or Secret of Mana. Those games I've replayed so many times, at least 4 times each.
Oh, easily, yeah. Those are like the top tier.
And even today, you know, after all I've played, I played Final Fantasy VI again, and I was like, man, this is just such a good story, such great music, and it has consequences. I love that.
Do you listen to the guys who do Retrograde Amnesia?
No.
Because they're doing it. I'll have to. I think it's Retrograde Amnesia, or maybe I'm thinking about the different one. But anyways, there's a group of guys. No, sorry, it's I'm going to forget it. But anyways, there's a group of 2 guys. Oops, I'll make him frog. There's 2 guys who are going through a playthrough of Final Fantasy III right now, and they're going through and discussing it.
Oof.
So it's something arc.
Maybe the thing is that when I played it, I was sometimes when you get a book or a movie or something that you're really fond of at a certain age, and then you play it and just revisit it when you're an adult, it kind of loses a little luster. And you know that you know a proper classic and something that is timeless when no matter when you play it, it's still awesome. I read
Mm-hmm.
I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe last year, and I was just smiling throughout because it was as rewarding as the first time. That was the first book that I read that just blew my mind. And
Yeah.
with games like Final Fantasy, like Secret of Mana, Xenogears was. I remember I played it the first couple of minutes. It was like, it's okay. And then a friend of mine was like, dude, grind out the first 18 to 20 minutes, and then you'll see what happens. And I'm like, okay. And then when that game hits its stride, oh, it is so good and so enjoyable to play. The combat is really, really, really cool.
Yeah. So these guys are physically defensive, which means that I should be using somebody's magic against them.
Mm.
So, AF Stewart said their favorite
Oh.
was Civilization. I got to nuke the world.
Oh, what a game!
I appreciate that because I
Awesome.
did enjoy that.
Oh yeah, sorry, I've been not really paying attention to the chat. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for joining in, and thank you, AF Stewart for coming here. I think it's awesome that you all have joined in, and I hope you get something out of this.
And while technically Richard Minesweeper is a game, no, it absolutely does not count. Absolutely.
In terms of hours played, yeah. In terms of storylines,
Who's playing that many hours of Minesweeper? It's no Snake.
oh, I agree.
So now we're starting to.
I was going to ask Richard, what's his favorite game? I didn't hear it yet.
Yeah.
My favourite game. I'm going to have to kind of go with Anita and say, because I never used to play games like this, to my possible detriment. I was more of a strategy gamer, and I still am. So I'm sure Ben would love for me to say my favourite game is Age of Empires 2, but we're not quite there yet.
It's addicting, but it's only addicting because I'm playing with my friends right now. So
yeah,
if they weren't for them, I wouldn't really be nearly as it wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable.
and there's me going through the single player like a right loser. No, I think one of my favourite games would be Civilization, like Anita said. I have so many hours in various versions of that game, going back years and years. I used to play SimCity a lot. I still do, which is probably why, Ben, you'll probably notice in Age of Empires, my bases are always laid out so particularly. That's why the computer wins as well, because I'm too busy doing that. Yeah, that's certainly one of the games I certainly played a lot of in my past. Don't play that much these days because, I'm getting old now. Real life gets in the way.
I gotcha.
Actually, there's a masterclass by Will Wright, who is the designer for The Sims and SimCity, and I think Spore.
That was another game of mine. I loved The Sims, and I still do, to be honest.
I mean, who doesn't love making a pool they can drown in?
And delete the ladder, yes.
Why did we all do that?
Because we're all sadistic at our heart.
Exactly.
I've never played Sims.
What?
Well,
I've never played Sims either.
You're definitely either gonna trap your sim in a room with no doors or drown them in a pool with no way out. I don't know why, but everyone does it.
Yep, can confirm. Do that.
So this is something cool in that we went to the left first, and they told us that there's a secret room where everybody's hanging out in. And we'll see that right here. It's something that I always forget, but you want to pay as much close attention to the screen as possible.
Why are they dancing?
They're just moving. It's better than. Well, sorry. After this battle, and one thing to note, if you've been following me, well, because I wasn't trying to leave you, I was trying to go through the side passage, and there's a lot of dungeons which have similar rooms that are kind of hidden unless you know what to look for. And they hold lots of incredible weapons. So this is teaching us to not just go into a room, not just look for the treasure chest and leave, but to look and see what's around the room. See if there's maybe something that's hidden from sight. And if you saw, sorry,
No,
What were
so speaking to this room, this element of having like a side passage there in the human cycle, you read it. There's a scene where there's a library, and suddenly one of the characters disappears, and it's like, where the hell did he go to? And there's like a false wall that if you just look right past, there's a little nook and cranny, and it comes from that element from my story comes from actually this element from video gaming, and I did that with. There's another scene where there's an angel, and there's the scene, everything is decrepit and everything's crumbled and everything's just just ruins, but there's a ball of light, and as it hovers around the room everything reconstructs, and that comes from Super Mario.
Hmm.
The especially the levels that have the ghosts in them, sometimes there's a light source that when it passes through a certain area, there's suddenly a platform that appears, and I took that element and I included it into my storytelling.
Nice.
Does that count as a spoiler?
If I'm saying it that way, I told you scenes that are further ahead in the story, but I wouldn't consider it a spoiler. There's If I told you who was each character and when it happens exactly, then it would be a spoiler. It's just for people to keep an eye out. And also, there's certain elements that you go like, where the hell did that come from? Think of video games like Zelda, like Super Mario, and stuff like that, and see if there's any levels that you go like, oh, huh. And there are so many little nuances that I've incorporated just because gaming has been such an important part of who I am, not just as a writer, but as a human, man.
Yep. I see
I
that.
feel like there's a book that I have not read yet, but effectively the gist of it, it's called Games Agency as Art. That the crux of video games, and one of the reasons that it's such a wonderful art form, is that you're teaching people how to manipulate a world, and that manipulation, that agency, is effectively you're teaching them a whole way to be and unlocking different parts of their brain. And I think the most analogous thing in writing is like perspective shifts, like maybe an unreliable narrator. Have any of you kind of translated that agency perspective into your writing?
So, sorry, just one thing to note. I just skipped all those enemies. So this was like what JD said earlier, where you don't need to fight everyone and you can just walk past them because you can see them on the screen.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? Like that's an agency, that choice, that ability to make that choice is one requiring you to pay attention and gain perspective.
I'm not sure about agency, but the element of surprise in your average book and the element of surprise in a video game, it's two different things. I did mention the masterclass with Will Wright, and part of the fascinating things that he says, it's a really interesting masterclass just because if you come at it from a different perspective to see how you can extrapolate information that he offers about designing video games and how you can do it into storytelling or other aspects of your life, even your day job. In the first levels of any video game, any properly developed video game teaches you that language of that world. So how you establish the tones, the characters, the tempo, and the situations that you're going to be facing in a book should be established early on just so that people know. And then what normally happens is that little nugget of information that you have, you expand and you expand and you expand and you expand. But there is a center and there's a core to your story. And I think that definitely transposes into a lot of what I write in terms of fiction, just because each book and each project has to teach people what the language is, what the world is going to do, and how it's going to behave. And then within that box, that sandbox, just show how deep that sandbox can go.
Absolutely. And I skipped over it in the Carnival Fair at the start of this, but there's also a side to it where we go through a place where there are a lot of people dancing around like it's ancient times, specifically the dinosaur age. And sure enough, we will eventually come to a time in which the dinosaurs ruled. So so much of that initial opening, and here we're learning about techs. So as you saw, these squat guys, they look like balls. They're physically resistant, but we have Luca here, who is our who is our battle mage, and she is strong against them.
Mm.
So flame toss.
Ben just powered right past that.
I'm
Yeah.
ignoring it.
Balls.
So really cool there. I actually aimed for 2 different people, but because she was hit and knocked back, her aim was off, and she was only able to hit one person.
See,
So
that's
these are the mechanics that we're learning about the game at the start that get fully flushed out by the end.
the combat of this game is just so good because you can't be mechanic. You have to be present in every battle. It reminds me of, from recent games that I've played, Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, if you try to snooze past an average villain, they're gonna take you out. Another aspect from gaming that I think I've explored, and just having this discussion, I realized anyone who's played a Metroidvania game knows that there's like the world, and then when you get superpowers or abilities or something, you can unlock different parts. In the human cycle, in the second book, they revisit and they go back to places that you had seen before, but since they have more abilities or just the story has developed more, rather than that little nugget, you can see that it's just more expansive, and that was a really fun thing that I was able to do with the second book. And it's something that as soon as I did it, I'm like, I'm gonna really explore this in future projects, just because a well done Metroidvania game has you go through the same place twice, and it's still rewarding. A poorly made one feels like a grind and like you're just redoing the same shit. Sorry if that flags.
Yeah, we can swear a little bit. It's fine.
Okay. I'll keep it PG-13.
Sure.
But you just redo the stuff. I think game designers have gotten really good at making Metroidvania games, in the sense that when you revisit an area with a new ability, it is really, really gratifying. And I can mention, I already mentioned Hollow Knight, and another one that does really well is Guacamelee, 1 and 2. When those worlds open up and you revisit, it's like, oh, and if you're a completionist, that is just the best, because sometimes to get one power up that is left in one area, you have to have all the abilities that you can get in the game just to get something that is in the top right corner of the topmost right area of the map, and that is super gratifying. How you transpose that into writing, again, if you show a scene, if you show an area, if you show a character, and then suddenly you reveal another level and another layer, that can offer really cool and interesting opportunities.
Certainly. So he's out of mana. I can't do anything there. Flame toss.
And I just can't get over how expressive they can make these sprites look with just 16-bit.
Absolutely. So now that we have our team kind of started to form, we have Chrono, who is a good all-around person. He's got decent magic, and he gets one of the most powerful lightning-based spells in the game, or light-based, I guess. And he's a pretty good attacker as well, physical strong. Frog is your typical knight. He is very physically aggressive, and he has okay magic. He's got a little, or I guess he's more of a paladin, because he can also heal our team. But he's mostly used for offense and physical attacks. Then Luca is somebody who I kind of disregarded as a kid, but she is one of the most powerful mages in the game, or who we get on our team. And not only that, but her specialty is fire or will be fire magic. And the cool thing about fire magic is that most enemies in this game have a weakness, or they aren't inherently strong against it. So there's 4 different types of magic. A lot of the enemies have very specific strengths against certain types of magic. Fire is one of the ones with the fewest number of enemies who are strong against it.
Quick question.
Right now, Rufus is twinkling in my leg.
You hinted at archetypes and in terms of the paladin and the knight and stuff like that. Do any of you use those archetypes in the characters that you use in your stories?
Mm-hmm. In fact, right now in my work in progress, I have a bard who is shifting into a paladin. It was the Chancellor all along. He was the one who said about capturing the queen. Wasn't quite Agatha. Oh, also, sorry, in the chat. Yeah, Axel, looks like one of your top 5 games is Link to the Past, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, something. Sorry, JD, you're good.
No, I was gonna say I didn't say my favorite game.
Oh, go for it.
Dino Park Tycoon. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, that's a classic, man. I remember playing.
I love that game though. It's a fun game, but
Is that one of the crap knockoff Tycoon games? Or one of the good ones?
Yes, except that you're dealing with dinosaurs, which is inherently awesome.
I guess you can consider me a born again noob because I actually stopped gaming for like a little over 10 years and just now getting into it after building this PC. But I guess all-time favorite be toss up between these three. Say Contra 3 for Super Nintendo, definitely. Metal Gear Solid 3, I think that was PlayStation 2, and Prototype.
Ooh, all good.
For Metal Gear Solid 3, that has one of my favorite boss fights ever, which was versus the End. And the thing is that how I ended up beating the End is not what you would see in most guides. I'm not gonna spoil it because that would just ruin the surprise for anyone who hasn't played the game. But in terms of, there's so many ways that you can beat, and none of them are easy. I
was gonna say it took me a long time to get that. Oh my god!
That boss fight with the End took me at least half an hour with the method that I had. It's like crawl and crawl and crawl, and then do my strategy, and then crawl and crawl and crawl, and then it's just it was so rewarding. And then I was like, how do people normally beat it? And when I looked up, it was so much easier the way that most people do it. But for me, it was super rewarding that I did it the hard way, but something that I just deciphered myself. That also happened when a really good boss fight or a really good element of a video game is when you're able to decipher it yourself and it's not exactly obvious. I think one game that did that really well was Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, the first one.
That was a great game.
That first boss fight, I was like, how am I going to beat this guy? And suddenly, I call that my video game brain. And sometimes problem solving when you're thinking like a video game, it's like, okay, it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation to see what works and what sticks and what doesn't, and it embraces failure. And when you transpose that into the writing process, sometimes you're stuck in a scene and you're like, this doesn't work. And then if you engage that video game brain, it's like, okay, how can we shift perspective and what can we try that's different enough that might work? Sometimes it's switching POV.
I think it's funny though. We keep talking about, and I mean, this is understandable. We keep talking about like the stuff we love, like what's really great, but it's not lost on me that like there are some bad games and boring games, just like there are bad and boring books.
Quest 64.
ET for Atari.
I immediately am thinking of the Quest. I don't know if any of you guys have played like the Oculus games, but there's one where you just like clean a countertop or whatever, and it really reminds me of The Simpsons where they have like the kids are playing the like
farming
yard work game, and I don't know why, but my brain immediately was like, those games are like how I felt reading As I Lay Dying, a book I hated because it's so boring and terrible.
And this is another lesson in the game where just because there's the little groove, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's another room to the side.
No, and Final Fantasy was notorious in having you search every nook and cranny, every pot, every shrub, and it's like, hey, there's a tonic there. Hey, there's a tincture there, and you're like, dude.
But there's some Final Fantasies where you come back to those at a later point and you didn't want to take them because then they are better, upgraded items.
Yes.
I'd say the most boring game of all time would be Enduro Racing for Atari. It came with a bundle pack when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm old. And I played it once. It's one of these games where you're just driving straight. It's supposed to be a race. You're not circling. I don't ever recall seeing a finish line. You're just going on and on down this weird road where it changes seasons on you occasionally. It goes from snow to rain. I played it once, quit, but my dad loved it, and he would just
Nice.
sit there and hog the system all night playing that shit.
Well, it's curious to see what people see in games that you hate, or books that you hate, or movies that you hate. And there's something to be learned about. There are movies that are so bad that they're good because it ends up it was supposed to be a drama or a horror movie, and it ends up being a comedy. And it teaches you that sometimes if you double down on a genre so badly, it can become another genre altogether.
Yep. So I just want to say thank you, Emma and Nia Vixen of Fiction, for joining in, as well as Sako Toomey. I can see that there's a lot of support for some Re7 redefined how horror in general changed her mindset. And now we also have Marley back, who is supposed to be one of our stronger. She's supposed to be a stronger healer. She's supposed to be a decent battle mage, but again, ice magic has a lot of enemies who are resistant to it. So she is.
But her fatal flaw is that everything she says is terrible.
And now we're saying goodbye to Frog. So she is your more typical healer, except there are better healers. Frog is a better healer. We'll get Robo, who is a better healer. And her magic is superseded by Luca, who is a much stronger battle mage. So she is largely, well, she is by far the most useless person on our team of 7. But Luca is up there as one of the best. So that kind of is a swap from how I used to play this game, where I was all about physical force. So my team.
I realized that I'm looking for I'm identifying a logical fallacy in a game where they're traveling through time, but it always seemed weird to me that a robot was a healer.
Also, there are all these things which are
doesn't do it.
hidden for. I wonder what those Steel by Mystery Force could be. So again, we are going through the map and we are seeing these boxes that we can't open yet, but eventually we'll come to a point where we can. And just a side note, as I'm finishing up this level, the first time I played this, I started off, I guess I was 14, and I did not know how to progress in this game. So I got to this point and I was stuck, and then I thought this game was terrible, so I gave up on it, and then went back to it a couple of years later and realized I was an idiot. So what I ended up doing is we're in the past now. We now know that we're in the past, and we rescued the actual queen, who was mistaken for Marley in our party, who is in fact her great-great-great-granddaughter. A couple more greats in there. And so now we know that the person in our party is the tomboyish, that's what the game calls her, the tomboyish princess. Because she wants to go off adventuring, and her dad wants her to rule. He wants to teach her how she should be a ruler. And what that means is that later on this game, there will be some strife between daughter and father the king. So what I actually did was I went down here and I tried to figure out a way to fix the bridge. I was going all over on this map trying to figure out where to go. But what I actually needed to do was to go back the way I came. And again, talking about how if you pay attention, there are exits to the side. I got to this map. I beat everybody. I was way overpowered, but I didn't understand what I needed to do. And I gave up because I didn't recognize a very, very simple mechanic in this game. So all these lessons learned about how to teach the game, it's very, very simple. It's very basic. And I missed one critical step where Luca told me to go back to where we entered this world or this time. I missed that, and I thought this game was terrible. So it's kind of like in A Link to the Past. Sorry, it's kind of like in A Link to the Past, where your uncle tells you to stay in the room, and if you follow that, then the game never happens. But if you leave and you disobey him, then you go off on this wonderful adventure. So there are a lot of people who make joke reviews, one starring Link to the Past, because they followed their orders and nothing happened in the game.
It's something.
So yeah,
another
there. I missed that.
I kind of remember this as well. I think I was hovering in that scene for a while, and then I just stumbled upon it. It's not like I looked for a strategy guide where you used to have to buy a strategy guide and couldn't just look it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But something.
My old strategy guides.
Something very interesting is that a lot of these games were translated, and some translations were spot on or improved upon when, it would be translated to English, and then someone who's a writer in English would polish it up and make it pretty. And other games are just awful, and the translation is awful, which at the same time teaches you what bad writing is, but at the same time it teaches you what good storytelling is, because sometimes it's a great story, but the words kind of suck.
Yep. Well, that's the thing with Frog, where we were in his time and we saw that he speaks with this "thou art" doing all this other thing, like this very stereotypical medieval
Be
English.
spoken to me.
Yes. And no one else in that time talks that way. So it was just a weird translation decision that somebody made when they were making this in English.
Mhm.
I think that you have to do that with writing in a different way as
Sure.
well. Like you need to provide appropriate context for everything that you're writing.
Mhm.
I'm not a writer, but as a reader, like if I'm reading something and you and I have talked about this a lot, how dialogue has to fit a character.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't, it just kills a story for me.
So right now I have more than enough money to buy the Loadsword, one of the best weapons that's currently available to me. I'm not going to do that because I can get it for free momentarily.
So I'm gonna have to check and make sure Ben doesn't do what he just said about the dialogue in this book.
Well, and it's interesting that you were talking about this, JD, because like I said, the podcast I was talking about, I'm almost positive it's Resident Arc, where they're talking about how in Final Fantasy III there were a lot of subtle changes where they made odd choices, and it was revised in the Game Boy version of it of Final Fantasy III, where they fixed a lot of those simple mistakes. And so, actually, sorry, pause. There's a bird carrying a bell. So if I go too close to that bird with the bell, then he will ring the bell and enemies will approach. And same thing with the mushrooms, where if I don't touch them, then they don't attack me. So there are a lot of like really incredible, tiny little decisions that the people made when designing this game.
But yeah, Richard, to your point, Ben and I have absolutely had like hour-long arguments about the dialogue in his book, because I would go and highlight stuff, and I was like, we need to work on this because no teenager would say this.
Yeah.
We the number of times I went to him and I was like, use a contraction here. no teenager saying, I cannot do that.
So there was a while where I had all the adults speak without contractions, and then all the kids were, and then it got confusing, and so I just kind of erased all that. And yes, Adrian did make my story much better. Also, Margaret, thank you for joining in, and thank you for telling everyone to hit that like button. And JM Chaley, thank you for joining in as well. Ooh, he is apparently at Disney, one of the Disneys. Oh, DL Tillery, awesome. I hope you weren't waiting too long. Yeah, so pop her up and give her an intro. Oh, well, actually, sorry, this is a pivotal scene. DL,
I can do my intro from down here.
This is me going to court right now, and like the entire thing that I did set up in the start where I'm.
Dude, you don't have to explain. You know I played this game.
Yeah.
I can do my intro from small screen. It don't matter.
All right.
He's entering his arraignment.
Like I need to do this part.
Well, no, because I intentionally was a jerk in the carnival where I was stealing from the old man. I was doing all these things, and this is where it gets paid off.
Bad Ben.
So I'm going to lie in court. I'm going to admit. I'm going to say that I didn't. Well, whatever. You'll see. Sorry.
By the way,
so,
look at the gorgeous.
Once we get done with here, DL, you can go in with your intro. But you just came in at the perfect moment for the initial setup.
Look at the gorgeous art direction in this.
Yeah.
It's like the perspectives, the lighting, everything, and it's like this was done on Super Nintendo, dude.
Old school.
Love it. The inside of Chicago Symphony.
Ooh.
Let me see. Who actually started this whole mess? Well, I'm going to say Marley did because she bumped into me, I think. There's a right answer and a wrong answer, so I'm just going to blame it on her.
Hey, Seiko.
Oh, sorry, that's right. I didn't
What up,
show that. So if I stood still, then she runs around you. I forgot to mention that. And so you need to physically bump into her. So technically, even though it seems like she ran into you, you're the one that bumped into her.
So, because you brought up the art direction here, I read a book by Ken Williams, I'm sorry, I was obsessed with Sierra and LucasArts. He was like the founder of Sierra Online. But he talks about how they
Maybe we should have had something to hide. I didn't talk to my lawyer before we got here.
He talks about, in his book, he talks about how they created like one of the first, I think the first game with graphics, actual visible graphics, and how they compressed it to fit.
Because I'm a jerk. I ignored her.
That's not a crime.
Had I have gotten her cat back here, she would have talked on your behalf. So she would have been one of the jurors voted for not guilty if I were nice. But because I was a jerk to her, yes.
They're called character witnesses.
Well, my character is the key question here. Have you ever stolen anything? No, I've never been a thief. Except
The sandwich.
You're right. So that's so important because we can go back and forth and grind against that robot. So that way we can heal up really quickly and gain a lot of levels, gain a lot of silver points to do some good things there, get better weapons, get much stronger. And so because that sandwich is placed there, it lures us into a false sense of security, but all of our decisions matter. Except they don't. I'll get to that after after we get through done with this and after DL does her intro. No, I was never tempted by her fortune. Not a bit. Uh-oh. There's a witness saying that I was interested in her fortune.
Then you go, can I get a witness?
Get a witness.
Wow, I was a real jerk at the carnival. Because I went for a pendant first. I didn't even check if she was all right. She didn't seem to want to return.
How many times have you played this game?
So many. But normally when I play through this, I try and be good. I try and do everything right. And lesson in life, even if you do everything right, there's still a 50-50 chance that one of the people will say that you're guilty. So there's just a completely random factor thrown in there.
You're not being good today, Ben. Today you walked the left-hand path.
Yeah, today I think I'm unanimously evil. You heard it with my own eyes. There's no need to drag me by the arm like some kidnapper. I told you I will come back to haunt me.
But see, there's agency here, and it's a lot of people when they're writing, they forget that decisions that you make in chapter 3 should impact what happens in chapters 26 and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
That butterfly effect. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you do something, it's going to have some kind of effect, cause and effect.
Except this game lures us into a false sense of security with that, in that our decisions don't technically matter. So now that I'm going to be found guilty,
Not the old days, they couldn't pull that off.
Can you, DL? You're about to get in full screen, and it is all you.
What's up? I am author DL, the Mistress of Horror, and you can check out all my horror scary things over on my channel here on YouTube. As well, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the socials. I'm always all over there. And I'm called the Mistress of Horror because I'm married to all the other genres, but I am the Mistress of Horror. So that means you'll see me writing all kinds of genres, but you'll have a taste of horror in most of them. If you haven't read any of my work, then you can check out The Room Within and Fractals over at Amazon. There's some of my short horror stories. My debut novel, Cagliostro, Tale of Libertin, will be out this year, 23, probably late summer. And that one is a dark fantasy, so also still dibbling with the horror. So I'm here today to talk about gaming and writing combined, which are my two favorite things in all the world.
So when's the self-help horror book gonna come out? I would love to see that.
Actually, I thought about writing one of those because I did a workshop for the convention online here that SD Houston runs. So I did a workshop for that on writing short stories, but it kind of entails with writing short horror stories because a lot of people, have a problem writing short stories, especially if they're more, heavy on the word writers. It's a little hard to do. But the horror things that I always tend to talk about when people write horror is, I like to tease. I like to, get you scared and then boom, surprise, usually a lot at the end. And some people may not understand that with horror, and there's so many types of horror out there. But thrillers specifically is not my thing. Now, a lot of people I call them the regulars. The regulars, they like thriller more than other deeper, darker type of horror because thrillers are more grounded in something that their mind can handle.
User friendly.
Mm.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. More like serial killers and things that are human-esque more than more supernatural and things that we wouldn't have much of a chance of possibly defeating. So that's why you'll get a lot of the normies prefer and the mainstream prefer thrillers. That's why thriller does so good, because it's a little easier for their mind to take. When you start dibbling dabbling into darker things and more unexplainable things like cosmic horror, for instance, then it's more unexplainable and not likely humans would win in this setting. So when we talk about horror, I prefer psychological and or cosmic or that type of horror. I prefer better because it's the unexplainable, which to me is more scary than a human with a knife. Because a human with a knife, I'm going to fight you back. I'm not going to just let you take me, even if you beat me. I'm not. I'm going to fight you back. Now, if I'm fighting something with 17 tentacles and 25 eyes and all kinds of weird stuff, likelihood of me winning is very low, you know? So that's more scary to me, something that is otherworldly, unexplainable. I'm not really ever scared of thrillers and like humans killing humans type of horror. It is still horror, and I do even write some of it, but it's like it's the least scary on my scale. So when I teach people about writing horror, I try to really go into like you have to think like a monster, and it's not the easiest thing to do because we're not talking about human monsters, because humans can be monsters too. But it's more like you really have to try to see outside yourself when you're writing horror, and you have to not be afraid to go too far with the scary thought process. So
Nice.
so
Yeah.
I'll be working on one of those books. I'm sure that'll be fun to write.
How many people do you know that they relax by listening to like a serial killer podcast or watching that on
I
TV?
know, I know some people. I know some people that do.
So
Like I
good.
really actually I did a podcast with was it? I think it was I did it with what's her name? Laura Nettles. I did one with her. She did a podcast talking about horror and psychological and how like it can help you, like horror can help you cope with a lot of things in your daily life. And people are like, what? How does that work? You know, I think it's because we get to view other people going through things and monsters or whatever it is the horror movie is about. We get to watch that, and it's kind of like almost like a practice session of your psyche going through something that you really don't have to go through yourself. So it's kind of like we want to do that, and it kind of makes us see our life not as bad of the stuff we have going on. So you kind of can use horror in that way for like a calming coping mechanism with our daily struggles that we have to deal with. Because
So
at least we don't have to
Ben
fight
makes
the
fun
devil,
of me for this.
you know.
Ben
I'll-
makes fun of me for this, but that's also the exact same reason I love terrible reality TV. Have you ever watched Love is
Terrible.
Blind? Your life is better than everyone on that show.
I'll have to
I've
agree.
watched reality TV, unfortunately, but
It's
Yeah.
like
I've seen it back in the day when it was like
It is
Big Brother.
trash.
But it is like it's not. Even though
I
they're
know it's a
acting
guilty
still,
pleasure, but it's objectively trash.
There,
You
yeah, it is
watch
objective.
your
There's not
own
much
version
to
of
it. It's
trash.
kind of like they're actors though. Still, I mean, these people
Yeah.
aren't really like oh, they just grab Joe Smo,
know
and a lot of the times these people want to get into acting anyway. So it's still like TV, even though they is a reality, blah blah blah. But it's not. It's not enough substance. It's kind of like people
that's
like
just
watching
it.
people
It's
go to work.
junk
Apparently,
food.
like
It's junk food for my brain.
Yeah.
like
I'm-
the guy with the like
That's
the guy
okay.
just watch the dude go to work. I'm like, really though? I could totally go to work myself. But hey, people like watching what they like watching, but you know.
it's-
I can't say much for reality TV, but horror definitely. There is a dark comfort from seeing somebody having a worse day than you.
Yeah,
Ah.
that's the thing we talked about because it's a thing, and it's kind of like sometimes some people don't realize that's why they like really watching certain horror and stuff like that. But yeah, so but on the subject of writers and video games, I have a lot to say about that because being a gamer since I was a little kid, I'm 38 now, so yay, I'll be 40 next year.
No
I'm 39.
way.
Looking forward to that. But I've been playing games since I was like a little kid. You know, back when it was like Nintendo, and then it went into Super Nintendo and all those things. Of course, as well stuff before that I played too, but it wasn't my time setting. That was more like the boomers' time with like Atari and that type of stuff. So, but I played it, but it still was like that was like boomers gaming type coming in. Back in the
Just a
arcades. Like when
casual
I was a
erasure
kid,
of
though,
Gen X
there was arcade was still a thing. Like you get excited, you get to go to the arcade. You didn't have home consoles really, unless you had a lot of
Show up with
money.
$1 quarters and see what you get. See how
Yeah,
much
and
you
they,
get.
you know, the way they structure games now too, kind of like gives you a flashback of the past, but they have zero reason to do it because back then they wanted to make more money on you. They wanted you to put more quarters in the machine, so they wanted to kill you fast because they wanted you to put more money in that machine to make their money.
Yeah,
But now
but
we have video games where
some
they
games
want
were
to kill
cruel.
you, and you're like, "Look, dude, I already paid my $70. Why are you so adamant that I must die before I get to the end of your game? Like, you're very hard on this." And there's a whole community of people that's like, "Yeah, get good," and stuff like that. Because if you didn't play the Dark Souls games perfectly, then
That's
so
it.
the
It was
Aladdin. Sorry, go RC.
I was gonna say it was a way different environment back in the arcade game
It
days
was.
because like the people talk about like the chats and like Call of Duty and all that being like toxic, angry. I would love to see anybody back in the '90s in the South Side going in an arcade. You better, you know, either trash talk back or get the hell out because everything is gonna break out in a fight anywhere.
Oh
it was just
my
wild,
goodness,
especially like when you get Mortal Kombat. You got
you
Street
got more
Fighter
stuff to
2.
worry about than the game.
People were fights broke out over anything. You spill a drink on somebody, you drop a
Hilarious.
quarter.
You're like, come on, fight me in the game. Relax. Like,
I've seen people getting hit, like say like they move their hand too close to this guy's roll quarters. What? Bam! Yeah,
oh my goodness, they're
there was
bringing
an
it
alley.
outside the game.
And right where I
Also-
grew up, in the Roseland area, there was this big arcade right there with an alley right next to it. So you know, right there. All right, let's go.
For
That's
some
right.
reason, that's so much less repugnant to me than being called a pussy by an 11-year-old.
That's always fun. That's why
You
I don't
weren't
play
doing that in the
online
arcade.
gaming, because the kids can go to bed. Okay.
I was trying to learn how to play Fortnite so that I could play with my nephews.
Yeah.
And
What's
and
Fortnite?
wow,
What's
they
Fortnite?
no,
So you've been insulted by all kinds of 10-year-olds.
They just
No,
turn into tiny little rage monsters.
They
The-
are though. That's
the
true.
much
thing is,
caffeine.
I was the last one that got killed, but they were like, "Look at the noob," and everyone was just railing on me, and I'm
And
like,
you're like,
I'm
what
still
happened?"
alive. I'm still
I think the
alive."
lesson here is kids today are shit.
I mean,
No,
let's
but-
just say the message that it is that kids
Get
have
off
always
my
been shit.
lawn.
Also, I want to say thank you to both Jordans who joined in. So we have Jordan Mahoney. I want to say thank you, and he's commenting. I'll read that in just a second. And then thank you, Jeffron, for also joining in because this game is in fact very soap opera like. I didn't comment on earlier, but as I was announced guilty, one of the people in my party, Marley, she tried to defy her dad and say that I was actually okay. But now I was thrown in jail and sent with 3. So there's my load sword now. So I was sent with 3 days before I was going to be executed, and this is one of the times where we get a lot of small choices. So to escape, there are a bunch of different things I can do. First of all, if I was found not guilty, but was still sent here, then I would get a bundle of goodies with all my stuff, which would have helped me out considerably. I could have just waited the 3 days because if I stay long enough, there's a little announcement on top of how many days have passed. What I actually did was I made a racket, got the guard to come in, and then just beat him over the head with a sword, which they somehow, for some reason, left me with. And as I've been going through the dungeon, I've been trying to avoid a lot of the fights. You can kind of hide in alcoves. You can walk in between the gaps so that we don't need to fight these guys. And these guys are shield enemies, so you have to wait for them to sort of open up their shield, and then you can freely hit them. Otherwise, they are defensively resistant. And let's see here. So NNNK forms one of his favorite games. It's called Hero's Call, and it was to Paris by 2 people there. Oh, cool. Yeah. So that's really interesting. And then, yeah, I could have also just waited to have Luca rescue me, in which case we would have just fought our way out. And there's a whole bunch of different ways they can get through here, and it changes the game slightly. So as I went through, I actually saved the merchant's son, which means that now when I go there, I'll get a nice little discount on the items. Although I don't think I'm going to buy anything.
Oh, so you do nice things when it benefits you financially?
I mean, those are your words. Normally, when I play this game, I go through the
Those are
right
your
way,
words.
and I'm a perfect
Jordan.
angel.
That's funny.
And I try and save all the cat. Like I bring the girl her cat. I don't eat the man's lunch. I try and do everything I can to be as good of a person as possible. Yes, this time I want to be a giant jerk.
See, I didn't do the bad stuff ever, so I had no
that is
idea.
blatantly not true. I've definitely rescued dogs in the park.
I said you would never rescue a cat in real life.
Touche.
Oh,
So this is how you beat the enemy. It's weak to lightning and fire. Well, luckily I have 2 people who are skilled at lightning and fire in my party.
good thing.
Actually, we were talking about dialogue a bit earlier,
Yeah.
and a game that I played last year, which has some of the best writing and the best dialogue that I've ever read in a video game or in my life. And actually, the whole game is driven through dialogue. Is Hades. If you want a
Yeah. Hey.
master class in terms of character voices
Mhm.
and how to drive narrative via dialogue, that game is a must play.
I
It
just
is
played
good
that
game.
last year. That was like the first game I played as like a noob or whatever. That is so fun. I wish I didn't lose it off
On
my
my
Steam.
Switch.
Yeah, Hades is
Finish
good.
Breath of the Wild first.
I think games over time have changed, and being a writer that's played games quite a long time, I think writers could learn a lot because you might come at it, especially if you've never played games as a writer, you might come at it as like, oh, video games, what? I can't learn anything from that. And when you're a novelist, then you kind of think that somehow you're on a different level, but you have to realize that those games had writers involved as well, because of the storyboards that were written. So it's, I think you can learn a lot from like the way the game works out far as like battles and things like that. Also how the story structured and you are actually involved. So playing games as a writer could really help you become a better writer because of the way games are put together and laid out, and you can give you a better understanding as well to integrate that into your writing. Um,
Mm.
I think the games that changed me as just the way I see games as well, and then it integrating into being a writer is Journey
Ooh,
and
I cried. I
Rhyme.
cried.
Yeah, I cried. Journey and Rhyme, and also Abzu. So
Abzu's gorgeous.
it's gorgeous. So it's those type of games, and then you have gamers on this side. They'll be like,
Hmm.
those aren't really games. Like they'll
I
try that, and you're
They
like,
are perfect.
you
they,
don't understand that games have such potential to tell amazing stories on all kinds of different levels. Journey didn't even really didn't have any words. There was no spoken
Mhm.
Flowers
dialogue,
from the
and you're
same
like,
from
and
the
flowers
same company.
ridiculously emotional. No words at all, no vocals
Mhm.
or anything, but you're emotional because just from the visuals and playing through the story that is there, you're just experiencing it. So to actually get in and play games and do that, because people just, I think there's a thought process on gamers and also like just playing video games that they're like they don't understand what it really is. It's an interactive version of really books. It's like taking a whole book and then you're interacting with the story. Like if we're reading a book and we really want to change something the character's going to do or have been more involved with their decisions, it would kind of change the way books would we would view books. So when you play video games, it's just another step in that entertainment line. Just like when people watch movies, we're just watching the story play out and we enjoy it, but we can't really be involved in the
Mhm.
way that we can when we play video games. So you can learn a lot as a writer with video games for a lot of many different reasons. I will always recommend like whatever genre you write, because not everybody writes all genres, that you can find that genre in video games. So if you're a horror writer, you can play a lot of horror video games that actually could help you become a better horror writer to learn how to scare people,
Mhm.
because that's what you're in it for. But
Oh, there's some really scary games.
there are a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of scary games. One of the best
Dead
horror
Space.
games out there
Oof.
Little
is
Nightmares.
Eternal Darkness on the GameCube.
Scorn.
And I always push that one out there. Of course, I have it. Yeah, I know, right? I love Eternal Darkness. It was like one of the best cosmic horror told stories.
Lovecraftian.
Yes,
It's
very
full on
Lovecraftian,
Lovecraftian.
completely. And
And it messes with you too.
it
Is that
messes
the one
with you. But
where
yeah, yup.
it
You know
says
what you're
like
gonna
all your
say.
data has been erased or something?
Yeah, it messes with you
Yep.
constantly. Your head, your character's head blows off, but they didn't really. It's psychological, and you're like, wait, what? Like, why did I die? And then it like blinks, and then your character's like breathing heavy, and she's like her head's back. So
Yeah.
it messes with you a
What's the
lot,
name of
which
that
I
game?
thought was cool.
Eternal
Eternal Darkness
Darkness.
on GameCube.
It is one of the best games I've ever played. Controls,
Literally,
graphics, story, everything holds
the way
water
they
till
did it, nothing
today.
else has done it like that.
Nope.
And it was like a diamond in the rough for real. And another one that is a horror game I really like, Haunting Ground. Another
Haven't
really
played that
good
one.
game. That's on PlayStation. Oh my
I
god,
have
it's
my
so
questions
good.
up here.
Another really good one. And then we've had newer games that are also Lovecraftian. It was the one. It's called City. I have to look at my
City
stuff.
of Cthulhu.
Yeah. There's another. No,
Um,
there's another one. It's called, what is it?
Sunken City.
I
Sunken City.
Sunken
I
City.
think.
Thank you. So Sunken City is another Cthulhian.
Yep.
Some people use the word Cthulhian type, game. That's really good. And we have like a lot of different horror games. There's so many
I heard
you can
Scorn's
play.
good.
Which one?
I heard Scorn is good.
Scorn, yeah, I played Scorn. It's like,
I started playing Outlast, and I did not outlast it.
he doesn't Outlast. Now Outlast is kind of when I see some horror games, I'm like, is this believable though? So now when we take a good example would be Haunting Ground and Outlast, for instance, comparing the two. When you write horror and then you write horror in a realistic setting where there's going to be people coming after people, you have then made the decision that you now have to be realistic. That was your choice. You chose people to come after people. So then you're going to get people start nitpicking at your story because now you can't do some things that's not believable. So the guy is locked. He's in like the sane asylum setting, and he's running from everybody, right? All mostly, I didn't see any female enemies. All guys in prison, they're insane. They're like, they'll murder you, they'll kill you with everything that there is. This man does not defend himself at all in any kind of capacity. Not believable. Even if you're afraid, even if you're running for your life, the fact that he doesn't try to defend himself against these other dudes is not believable. So I'm like, okay, he can't pick up a stick, he can't pick up an axe, he can't pick up a pipe. He's literally running for his life. Like he would try to bash him in the head with his camera, something. Like he does nothing. I'm like, this is not believable. Like this is horror. This is fine. I mean, I played it. I'm like, for real though? Like now I'm gonna say this. The reason why some of the horror games, the ones especially from the PS2 era, would have females in that type of setting more than a male in that type of setting is because they'll believe more that female will be likely to be more afraid of a bunch of half-naked dudes running after her, trying to murder her. She's more like, because I have more things to be afraid of because I possibly could get raped or anything else. So then the level changes. So then you're like, okay, I can see this, but then the guy, like, even though he might get killed and destroyed because there's a lot of dudes coming at him, he's not fighting back, and no one not fighting back is stupid. Because on Haunting Ground, your defense isn't like regular, but she can fight back. She has like the wolf with her and stuff like that. She can hit and push them off, things like that. But these people are super crazy as well, and they're specifically after her. So she can defend herself to a degree. Also, like Clock Tower, she can't heavy defend herself until she transforms or whatever, fighting bosses. But this guy can't defend himself at all. So this is like when you're writing a book and you're like, okay, cohesiveness. Does this make sense? That this character wouldn't try to, even if I'm gonna get killed, I'm gonna fight back, scratch their face, kick at them. How many people you look at in murder settings when you read about real life situations that people have gotten killed in, and the person, they had like skin under their nails, or they had some kind of defense, like, something on their like wounds or something that looked like they were trying to fight back.
Yeah,
I've got a much bigger nitpick that is just endemic to video games in particular, and that's women wearing metal bikinis as armor.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because our dog is woofing underneath her.
Yeah, but like, they're like metal being full armor. Women are naked.
Well, I have something to say about that one too.
It's that same lack of thought process happens in books all the time, and it
does
takes
happen
me
in books
right
too.
out of it. I was reading a Dean Koontz book. I think I mentioned this to you before. The protagonist is an FBI agent. She's 5'6". She's supposed to be lean, but like still strong and be able to fight. He lists her weight as 115 pounds. She's categorically underweight for her height.
Yeah.
Immediately took me out. Like, you just ruined the story for me because I can't get past the fact you couldn't even do a Google search.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't always Google stuff.
What female breasts behaving breastfully in a breastfully way that are so...
Sure, her boobs jiggled as she walked out.
Well, they probably didn't have to write that, but I've always had a thing about video games when some of those things don't necessarily bother me as much. Now, if they put a
I mean,
female,
they do have actual physics that they
they
build
do
into some
have
games.
physics. Now, I'm as a woman who is heavy breasted. When you walk, your breasts do move. Now, if you
Totally
fight,
get it.
your breasts do move. If
Yeah,
you,
but, like-
and I'm a martial artist, so it's a fact. Unless you tie them down, you're
Yeah.
still gonna have some movement. But if you didn't tie them down, like Dead or Alive, for instance,
They're not.
if you did not tie them down, you're probably going to be naked if you were actually in a real fight
Yeah.
with your clothes. The way if you wore any of the clothing that they wear, they don't even, at least they don't go this far.
with
But
their hair down.
well, yeah, their hair is down. It's going to be all over your face. But
Nah.
there's multiple reasons why this is a thing. Okay, one reason: majority of video gamers, like they're males, so they're going after a certain demographic. It's like we all write towards a certain demographic. There will be no reason for them not to make it pleasing to the eyes aesthetically.
But
This
they
is
can
like
make
when
it
we
aesthetically pleasing without it having to be inherently sexual.
not likely. I mean, it's not likely that they will because we know it sells, right? So if you look at certain things and aspects, I mean, I'm gonna play devil's advocate because it's not really devil's advocate. It's just like humans are attracted to humans. So a more aesthetically pleasing human, as they seem to think so, they would obviously put that in the thing to grab attention. If you are let's say your demographic is majority males, right? And then you putting a female in it for that reason. Now that you don't have males as attracted to males in this case, but let's say you're putting females in the thing. Not likely you're going to be like, let me make sure she's completely covered up. Let me make sure that she is less attractive of what we say is attractive. They're not going to try to do that. Now, we do have some games nowadays that will try to do that because of the setting that we are in. They literally try to do it. So then you'll have people saying, what are we doing here? Like, why are we trying to make people less attractive? And you're like, well, either way, we're going to get somebody saying something like, you can't please any of the people any of the time and none of the people none of the time. Like, so
I think A.F. Stewart put in the chat.
Yeah.
Gone. There's a difference between pleasing, like visually pleasing, and so sexist it's stupid.
Oh, we know that it is, but I don't really see that being a thing that's going to ever end because there's always going to be people that want it.
Yeah.
We can't say that there's no one who wants it. Like there's literally going to be people who want it. There's people who don't want it, and there's people that say this is stupid, and there are people who not going to say anything because they like it. You know, I'm not going to complain if a guy has no shirt on in a game.
Stacked with muscle.
I'm not right. I'm not going to complain about it because you like.
I'm not a small dude, but I ain't ripped like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But that's just the way it is. I'm not in shape like plenty of the women that I see and stuff, but it's whatever. Really,
I don't look like Batman.
But right, look like Batman
one day.
But one day, work on it. Work on it, RC.
I just take issue when it's like.
Well, of course, as females, some females we're going to see it as like kind of stupid.
Female character, like. If they were actually doing any of this stuff, they would die immediately.
It's possible. Also, you can see the show of skin as a distraction. Because if you're fighting someone, let's say you're fighting a guy in this setting, and you have less on, of course you can move better because you're not carrying all the weight. Then also, if you're half naked, he's probably going to be distracted, and you got him. So
you want 90% of these games also include range fighters, and all they need to do is hit you one time and you would die.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do that anyway in games like they'll like the one hit wonders where they hit you one time and you're done anyway. But like that's a whole nother thing of like, wanting you to play their game longer and shit. But
when you talk about, female characters in games, what I think is a good example of like sexy done right and still awesome, Katana from Mortal Kombat.
The
badass character. Look sexy without showing too much. And her weapons and her fatality.
There's plenty of examples. Like there's plenty of examples. Of course, we're going to talk about the ones that would be the air quote considered bad ones, but we're not. There's plenty of good ones, and I always think it's so funny. Metroid, for instance. Like there's actually people today didn't know that she was a female, which I laugh because I'm a gamer, so I've been gaming a long time. They literally told me she was a female in the second game.
She originally wasn't written as a female.
I mean, it's awkward that because
it didn't matter. In the second game, they showed her when you beat the game, they show her in a bikini. As a chick. Like she's always been a female anyway. So
in the first game, it's revealed that she's female.
Yeah, at the end when you beat it. So that
If
everybody's
you
like,
beat it,
people who didn't play it,
yeah.
that's why they didn't know.
Because
So
they
it's kind of
wanted
like
a
you
twist.
always knew that she was a female, always planned to be a female. And it's like, well, she's like 8 feet tall. First off, she's half alien. She's not a human.
Hmm.
Second of all, her suit is bio. It's not
Mhm.
actually her actual height. They're like, why won't she take it off? She's not that tall. Like, that's
Hmm.
weird. I'm like, no, it's called bio armor. You ever heard of Guyver before? Maybe not. Not into anime, so that's you know, people who didn't hear this shit. So it's Samus, really good example. But you know, people always got something to complain about, though, don't they?
No.
Because when Metroid Other M came out, which was not that long, really good game, went back classic kind of style. Us Metroid fans is like, yes, you know, and then you got these people like, oh
No.
my goodness.
No,
She's taking commands from the guy, and she's like, I'm like, have you? Oh, right, you haven't been in the military. I guess you would know. I'm a military family. Like I have people in the military. Okay, so if someone is lined with the military and they're working under somebody, they're going to take
Well, here, yeah.
direction. They're going to take direction. There isn't going to be like, oh, she's just going to go off and she's going to do what she wants to do. And she's going to be like, but it was like, oh, she's bowing down to him and trying to bring up like stuff that has nothing to do with
Right.
the game and
Well,
their own personal problems.
So here, hold on. JD has to run, so let's give him an outro, and then we can.
Okay.
Also, hey, thank you for joining us, SD Houston, Shannon. It's awesome.
Hey,
that you-
Shannon.
But
Okay.
yeah, let's make
Phenomenon.
JD big, and we can do an outro.
Wait. A couple of
Oh,
notes.
sorry.
First off, Other M, it frustrated me because what I like about Samus is that they tried to give her a different type of personality and try to PTSD it. The thing is that the writing was a bit off for me, and
I think they
what
tried to give her a personality, period, because she hardly had one before.
but they gave her one that was, and I'm like, you know,
People
for
didn't
me,
want.
Well, beyond not wanting, you know, she's one of the strongest characters that she's blown up planets, and suddenly she's like, meh. And just a lot of stereotypes and a lot of cliches that for me was frustrating because I think she deserves better. Second off, horror video games. Silent Hill, the first one, I think is one of the best that I've played. Graphics suck, controls suck, but the storyline is pretty interesting. And
It's
in terms
ancient,
of
so yeah.
in terms of teaching you what can scare the crap out of you, that is an excellent game because it is very subtle and the audio it's a masterclass in that. Third and final point of video games, something that it teaches us, man, how many of the games that we play, even Super Mario RPGs, it has a map.
Yup.
First off, the maps that you want in your book and how to traverse and trajectory, it helps you make a mental map of where you want people to go. So that's a really interesting thing. And that's my spiel for video games. Now you can put me back so that I can say goodbye.
Right.
Hi there. My name is JD Estrada. I'm a Puerto Rican indie author. I have 20 books out across several genres, English and Spanish, even a bilingual collection. Look for me at JD Estrada Writer on any of the social medias. Well, not any. I have an account on TikTok. I don't do anything. I think I'm most interesting on Instagram and YouTube, but I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. I have my blog and stuff like that. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So thank you for having me for your 100th episode, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for joining. This has been incredible to
Bye,
hear your
JD.
thoughts on video games and
Later,
see
man.
how
Nice to meet
they've
you.
Yeah.
inspired you.
Likewise, if
Oh,
I
you
haven't
gotta-
followed you, I'll follow you guys later. Much love. Have fun.
Awesome.
Hi,
And yeah,
Nick.
so this
Later.
Keep being evil.
Thank you. Something cool about this boss, though, is that if I attack the main body, this is a very important lesson that the game teaches throughout. If I attack the main body, they will all counterattack me with a very strong attack. So I need to take out the side bits first, and then I can attack the guardian. So this game just reinforces these lessons over and over again on how to play the game.
So I only thought of this when I saw JD's shirt big, but it's a little sad to me. You asked me what today's date was, and it's March 11th.
Oh yeah, yesterday was
They
Mario
didn't
Day.
do Mario Day.
They did that for the stupid the movie that's coming out soon, and
I'm
I
aware,
have
'cause
mixed.
Hulu
I'm going to
was
see
like,
that.
"It's Mario
Yeah,
Day."
Hulu was
I
going
like, "What?"
crazy with that because
You
the
remember
the
Super
old
Mario
TV
game is
show?
coming out soon. What?
The old animated TV show from back in the day, Mario Brothers. Where it
Oh,
was partly
I love
animation,
that
and then it was
as a
It wasn't
kid.
only
animation.
animated; they had live action. In
Yeah,
there.
that part started
Oh,
off animation, like an introduction, and it would go into the episode.
You gotta do the Mario.
Ben, did you remember the 90s live action Mario film? It was so awful.
Oh my.
do.
I love that movie.
Oh
It's
man.
a classic. It does not hold up, and I am very
Mm.
amused that it turns out that everybody was incredibly drunk during the entire filming.
You know, I haven't
Well,
watched
that
this
makes
as a kid,
sense.
and there's a reason because of that. I want to keep it in my nostalgia. I already know it would be just ripped away. Just like I watched The Fly too not too long ago. I love that as a kid.
Oh, The
I know
Fly.
it's nowhere near as good as the one with Jeff Goldblum, but yeah, I'm just gonna preserve that and not watch it.
Is there a remake of that? The Fly?
Which, well, no, what's the Cronenberg one's a remake from the one from the 50s with
Yeah,
Vincent Price.
Okay, yeah, because
But-
like I said, last one I watched was I don't know if they made another one after Goldblum. I didn't know if they made one after him.
Yeah, his son
Yes.
Even
became the
playing
Fly.
Dr. Mario now, I'm like, oh, Dr. Mario's contributing to like
Mm.
antibiotic resistant staff. He just throws pills and everything.
So Ben, I wanted to
Oh,
ask,
like very realistic.
I wanted
Sorry,
to
what was
ask-
that, Richard?
I wanted to ask if you're going to go and see the new Mario film.
Oh my god, no.
Why would
No,
anyone
probably
do
not.
that? I would say
Definitely
this
not-
would
definitely not in
like leave
theaters.
video games alone for
I'm
movies.
not going to see that.
I'm probably am going to go and see it for a bit of fun. That'll be a
You can
fun
all
night.
tell us what it's like then.
I will
Pass.
tell you what it's like.
As
You
a
can do it.
normie here, movies you guys recommend as a
Yeah, okay, guy.
as a gamer, I mean old school, yeah, but like the new stuff, y'all got me. So when it comes to like a good horror,
I'm playing
game,
AoE 2. It's a 20-year-old game.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Um,
okay.
but a good horror game. I'm playing Arkham City, and that's like the only game I have on my PC right
Is
now.
that really a horror game?
No, that's what I'm saying. I need a recommended horror, like Silent Hill, like you said, bad
Dude,
controlling. Same with
Dead
Resident
Space.
Evil.
Dead Space.
It doesn't matter on the genre, really. I love all
I mean,
horror.
you're doing PC.
That's-
I'm
that's
not a
quintessential
PC
modern
gamer, so
horror
I'm
right
not gonna,
there.
Like, make sure it's on the PC.
I keep hearing Scorn is good. That's why I want to play it.
Yeah, I'm more console game releases, but they do have most of those on PC, so I probably could recommend a few for you.
That new Aliens
I'm
game
the
looks
opposite.
awesome.
I'm all cozy games.
Yeah,
All right.
cozy games are good.
I want to feel good.
I play a variety, so I definitely get with the cozies.
So I
But,
do have some questions that can help guide some of our conversations too. So, what are some of the ways that we can tell more with less in terms of video gaming? So I'm now being triple attacked because I wasn't paying attention, which is bad.
Yeah.
But specifically, when you can possibly skip a scene, how do you, or when you're writing, they could skim over a paragraph, a page, a chapter, or whatever. How do we kind of try and accommodate for that potential reader or player?
We can probably accommodate that. Well, we want to try to avoid for them to skim over because you could miss important points. And one of the only ways to do that is to stay engaging. And your story has to stay engaging. You can't too much of anything at one time because too much of anything at one time could bore a person. You know what I'm saying? So over descripting things that doesn't really need it could cause boredom and could cause the skimming, which then they could miss an important point, kind of like if people playing video games and they decide, I don't need to see this story part, I'm going to skip it, and then they'll get to the end like, this story makes no sense, and you're looking at them sideways like, really, maybe you shouldn't have skipped the part. But in writing, I think that may be the best way. You try to keep a balance of things. Don't overcompensate or overdo something, even though some of us have obviously have a habit of doing that. We all have our things. It's just if you do have a thing, maybe try to spread it out more, because I recently DNF'd a book because of the over description early in the book to the point that it wasn't following the plot and going off the rails to like descripting everything that there was. Like if she saw me, she did give this whole description, probably all the fabric that my clothes are made out of, the type of zipper I'm wearing. Like she was overdoing it. And granted, this was a book from the 60s. And so the writing style was a little like I don't DNF books. And this was the first time this happened to me, that I actually DNF'd a book, also because I was in a challenge, so I had to finish books in certain time. But that type of over description can make a person do that skimming and skip. So
Absolutely my pet peeve in books.
Yeah.
I could
like
not
calm
agree
down
more.
with that.
That was
Like
the
they need
problem I had with you. God, that book was boring.
Yeah, and then you could do that in games. If you compare it to gaming, there's a game called Lost Odyssey. And I think that was on PlayStation 3. And you could tell at the beginning of the game, the way it opened was amazing. The writer, the guy who was in charge of the game, he switched off. He ended up leaving after the beginning of the project and did not continue on the project. And you could tell as soon as this occurred. The opening was amazing, exciting, and then it gets very boring. and then it's just you don't even want to finish it. And this is an RPG. RPGs are very story heavy, which is why I like playing them. But it was so different than the way the game started and opened. They actually end up bringing the characters' family members back. Which once you make a character go through something, you make them go through something, you give it to them, and you take it away. And then in this case, he didn't have the family or whatever.
Hey,
and then they
why don't
came
we
back,
try?
right? And then they came back. And then he completely changed, of course, the characters. He got his wife back, he got his kids back, and then he's like completely different. And then it's like, okay, well, what is he going to lose? Like, what's going on? What are we doing here? So the story completely changed because the person who originally was with it was no longer with it. So you could tell it's different writers and everything. So you could tell as the gamer, and if we was reading a story, you'd be able to tell, like, say Ben was writing a book at the beginning, and then somebody just rolled up in RC rolled up in there and took it over. Like, you're going to know something's different. Like, what's going on here? So you comparing those two things, see how they're quite similar, even with video games and the books. So it's we can really compare and take off of those two things. But yes, the description thing is definitely something I would say for that one. That's to make people skim really quick. Some people like description, but you gotta be careful how you do it.
I feel like in video games, over description, like you're describing, like, she sat on a bench. The bench was white, but not like the whitest white. There was a stain on it. Like, no one cares.
Stephen King.
That's like, you know,
Stephen
those games. You know those games that have cutscenes you can't cut, and there's
Yeah, they don't
like
let you.
way too many of them. It's like that.
Yeah. You can overdo, like I said, spread it out. Relax.
With the
Because you
gold
might get
rimmed
people
door,
something.
stencil doorknob on it, angels from this painting.
They
And
telling
it's
you things you
always-
don't
it's
need to
always
know.
stuff I have to Google, like, that I don't know.
Well, you have to show everyone that you're a writer.
A style of house
You
I have
talk
never
language.
heard of.
This is why I like Cormac McCarthy. He does just enough.
Oh,
So
Shut up, Richard.
we are now
Oh,
an
your hot dog.
hour. Sorry, we are now an hour 45 minutes in the game, and everything was very personal before this.
Yeah.
And now we get the entire point of the game where we are trying to stop the end of the world.
Yep.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Exactly. Day of
Yup.
Lavos, 1999. So we dodged this bullet
We're
apparently.
take our hats off to Kira Toriyama, who's the artist for Chrono
Mhm.
Trigger, also Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
You know it.
But yeah, so like I said, everything was very local, and to build off that, everything that we did up to this point doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, at this point, because
Doesn't matter.
No,
it
because
doesn't matter anyway.
So the very first thing that we did was we went back in time, and the woman that we went with, Marley, she was confused for the queen. But the thing is that the queen was already captured. So the queen was captured and rescued without our influence. And it's only because we got involved that things got worse that we then fixed it. So had we not traveled back in time, the queen still would have been captured and then rescued by Frog. So thus far, we have not had an impact on time itself. So that's one of the great lies that this game teaches you, that it makes us think that we are changing time. It makes us think that we're saving the queen. It makes us think that we're doing all this stuff, but we don't actually change time until after that pivotal shift in the game. So then we can start, we help a woman regrow a forest. We help like making actual changes around the world for the better. But until that one pivotal moment, everything in the game that we are led to believe is, and technically the game subverting our expectations.
Now we're really gonna
Also,
find out what's
I
going
feel
on.
it's
Type
important
situation.
to note that running to write in the chat is actually me and
Yes.
not Ben.
I can't type.
I am not going to be shy about trashing Faulkner, and Ben's not trashing Faulkner because I don't think he's ever read any.
You're absolutely right.
So,
Oh,
and
my, funny.
don't, you'll hate it. It's terrible.
Yeah, we totally thought that. I was like, say, I know Ben's not running in the chat. Like, less Ben went Kakumi, and now he has multiple arms.
yeah. I mean, the
But yeah, I don't
road
know how to
was
make it
awful,
display as
but
me. I don't think I
Well,
can.
no, because I gave you admin privileges.
said that
so
already,
you're is me.
I liked it.
what was that, RC? Well, that's proof you're weird.
Actually, I'll go back.
Okay. And the sky is blue.
It depends on where
my.
you. Apparently, it can change.
Well, actually, not over where he's at. It's more gray, isn't it? More overcast.
Well, we're in DC, so it's gray.
It looked like there was a storm coming in.
Yeah, I had some snow this morning over here in Maryland, not far from DC. Real close.
It is 40 degrees in the Windy City, also overcast.
Ooh.
It's overcast everywhere.
Yeah, it's like 44 here. It's gross.
It was
The cold
mid-30s when I woke
Oh,
up my
yeah.
run.
It's a Soundgarden Alice in Chains type of day.
Don't worry, Rufus is tucked in. He's got a sweater on. He's got his blanket.
Our dog is living the best life.
Yeah. He said yes.
He's sitting in between us.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "This is a nice, cozy spot. I'm just gonna stay right here."
Oh, shut up, Florida. No one wants to know.
And keep that muggy swamp.
Oof.
Some of the people are cool in there.
In Florida.
But the real
Yeah,
question is,
obviously.
will it rain today in Florida? Because it might rain here.
It might.
Either way, there'll be an alligator. involved.
Actually, it's supposed to rain all next week, mostly here in Maryland. So, yeah, not. And it's cold. Ugh.
Since everyone, commented on gaming and storytelling, I guess the one thing gaming has taught me is patience. To not jump to conclusions about something on a level, to search every room, every corner, every detail.
Be detailed.
And be patient with the game. Don't try to just run on some bloody trail to the end.
You can pick a fast-paced game. That's what you're into. You gotta pick based on your genres and your likes. It's why so many different kinds out there.
I mean,
so what you're saying is that when your partner is trying to get a lollipop or look at the merchant, and you keep running away because you're not patient, that might come back to you in the court of law and help you be found guilty.
In this case, yes.
I guess to answer Shannon's question in the chat, asking me if patience is the right horror, probably the opposite. Because eventually, it's like, you know what? I'm tired of writing about this person. I'm just gonna off them.
Like, I'm done with you. You're gone.
Oh, you're boring me. I don't like your hair.
I mean, does patience help you write horror? I suppose if you pace yourself, because you don't want to give away everything quickly, of course, unless you're writing a short horror, and then I guess it's relevant in this way. But if you're like Stephen King and you write like ridiculous size horror books like It,
Ugh.
Well, that was an epic.
it's like, am I scared though anymore?
Yeah.
Like, you took so long. I'm expecting everything.
I don't know. That leper scene is still kind of creepy.
I don't
I
know.
got given a
It's a
copy
movie,
of-
it is.
I got given a copy of The Stand, and I was just scared by the length of that book.
Yeah, that's
It took
scary
me
when
like
you
2
see the
months to
stand
read that.
sitting there.
The uncut version took me like 2 months to read that.
It's like when you
Oh,
see
Also,
the-
it was printed on that really thin, like Bible paper. I think.
Heavy on the descriptions.
He has diarrhea of the word
Yeah,
processor.
yeah.
It needs an editor.
I think Stephen King should have just
The
went into
white
fantasy
bench that I was
or
talking
sci-fi.
about was Stephen King.
Yeah, man.
I wonder what drug he was high on when he wrote that. Oh,
Yeah. So this is something really cool in games in the 90s where they used to have like these fun mini games that are just
In
some
between.
completely random and pointless thing.
They did, like, you trying to save the world's ending, but let me go over here and do this.
Yeah, it's a little mini racing
It's
game.
time for us to do like a Mad Max race to the death.
And this
That's
doesn't
part of
exist
the game,
anywhere
this
else
is
in the
so
game. This is the
important.
one part where you can do this. So it's really cool.
I mean, Final
It's
Fantasy
just-
7 did that same thing. We could be like,
Yeah, exactly.
got the motorcycle part, and then you can go back and,
And
do it
that's-
as a mini game on the side. Like, they're like, we're
Oh,
saving
and I
the world.
lost.
Let's go to the amusement park, guys.
So here I actually have a choice. I can either keep playing until I win, or I can go to the right and just fight the monsters all the way through. And I'm actually going to try and win this. So hopefully it won't take me too long.
So I want to win.
Where's my popcorn?
you need to use the blue shell. Ben.
No, because you can only get so far ahead. This is like Mario Kart rules where it
Yeah.
favors the
Look
person.
at him, like
back.
the one
Rubber
where
band in.
you guys are like racing, but in circles.
Well, yeah, because
This is like a inverted NASCAR,
It's like racing, but do it poorly.
Yep.
right? Like, what's going?
well,
They're
all I
like,
need,
you're not getting in front of me. So much so they're going in circles. I
yeah,
love
all I
it.
need to do is wait
Drive
until I
for
get towards
real.
the end, and then I can boost at the very end.
Yeah,
But
save
the
the boost.
you
Save the
boost
boost.
and you get forward, and then it sort of pulls you
Yeah,
back.
and
So,
it's like blast, like there
Chrono
it
Kart,
goes.
yes.
Ben,
Yes,
is that how you drive
left
for
them in
real?
the dust.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do.
Well done.
That's how you do a good job.
And I beat up the Johnny, who is kind of like Michael Jackson. I think he's inspired by Michael Jackson. Yeah.
Who?
He was inspired
Does
by
he
Michael
do like
Jackson.
the freaking the
He
moonwalk
did.
and
He
stuff?
does do
Look at
moonwalk
the way he's
sometimes.
standing.
Exactly, and he did moonwalk in.
That's funny.
And so now we are about to get our fourth character.
Did you know people always get the moonwalk mixed up with the walk that Michael Jackson did backwards? The moonwalk is the one he do in a circle. And
Oh,
everyone calls the one he does all the way like backwards without stopping the moonwalk, even though it's not. The moonwalk is the one where he does that but in a circle, like he does it. So and no one knows. Everyone's like, I'm like, oh well, I'll just call it the moonwalk because no one knows what the other one's called.
I'm wrong.
I don't know. I'm not a Michael Jackson.
I should know the name of it since I'm a dancer. So
Historical
shame on
fan.
me.
Oh yeah, so I can
Sound
show
or
you. So right now I've gotten some technical skills for everyone, but we are limited and we aren't learning new tech skills, which is very surprising. So that's kind of a hint that something major is coming up. So we have 2 skills for everyone, and these can combine. When I was with Chrono, I learned slash. Sorry, when I was with Frog, I learned slash, and he had his own slurp cut. And when you combine the 2 of those, slash and slurp cut, you get X strike, which is his triple attack right here. But since he's not in the party, I can't show you. And then similarly, we have cyclone and flame toss, which combine together into the fire whirl. So you learn a lot of individual skills, which then combine into these team skills.
Ben, have you ever played a game
is
called
just-
Fable?
Yes.
Fable.
Fable's a lot of fun. I only played the
love
first one, though.
Fable.
I
I
played
have
that
all
game for like a year and a half.
I love Fable.
That is one of the few
Uh,
games where, like, I
good
played it
stuff.
and beat it and came back and beat it again because you can, go either way.
I was going to say, which route did you go?
I went both.
Oh, nice.
I started
Yep,
off as the
played it
villain, went
myself.
back and did the hero.
Huh.
Fable.
I did it the opposite way.
Well, I just picked villain naturally because I'm an asshole.
I mean, because it's RC, so obviously.
Well, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Maybe
I
just because of my
wanted the
writing, it's fun to
Halo.
be the,
I really wanted the Halo.
the villain with the twisting mustache.
No, the
Sometimes
Halo.
villains are misunderstood.
Also, pour one out for England today, Richard.
He's like,
Rugby.
They
a
lost
rugby
by more
game.
than 40 points.
Oof.
ooh,
Y'all had a bad week.
brutal.
Ouch.
Vlogs about you. Got rugby games.
France.
Oh,
Damn.
Hang on,
oh wow,
We got defeated
really?
by France. Oh,
By 43 points.
France
that's
is
just,
a
that's just
flag.
adding insult to injury if it's the bloody French beating us.
Wow, damn, by that much too. France was like, guess what? Guess what?
Which stings more, them or like the Irish?
Yeah.
I think we kind of got over the Irish, but the French, we have a long-running
I guess that's
enmity
never
with.
never ending.
Well, they kind of, just antagonize it more than the Irish.
Yeah.
Oh.
Punch you a
Also,
second time.
I'm getting rickrolled right now, and you can't hear it because I'm not doing the audio for the game, but the soundtrack for Robo is very reminiscent of rickrolling. And if you had the
Yes.
things that I sent you,
Don't
the
forget to
links,
give. Don't forget to
sound-
give.
when you get a chance. And this is something really cool. So we have a woman, Luca, from the year 1000, who just fixed a robot from the year 2300, and that's doesn't feel out of place because she built the robot at the fair. She's she's the tech genius. She built a time traveling device or a teleporter, which turned into a time traveling device. And so it is her character trait that she is the mechanic. And it, like I said, it doesn't feel like it's a far right turn in this story that one of our heroes is able to repair a robot and that she is so capable.
Yep, she is. Bye, SD. SD says she has to run errands.
Take care. Thanks for joining in, Shannon.
Picking on RC.
Haters.
So for those of you keeping track, I think I have this final dungeon, and then I should be at the end of time. So all I gotta do is find out
The end of time.
Yeah, that's the end of time.
a slight.
Casual.
Yeah, I have to find out a little bit more about my new party member, Robo, who I'm going to replace with Marley, or who I'm going to use to replace Marley because I don't necessarily need the healer that much, and I like having a physically strong force. So
You're
I have
making
my
those
battle
decisions
mage
for your party.
Yep, I have my battle mage for Luca. I have my he's not really a paladin. He's more of a I don't know what the archetype is for Robo. because he's very strong, but he also has some magical capabilities.
He might still
I
be the
guess-
strong arm though, because I think I remember him being he's quite tough.
Hey
Yeah,
Ben,
He might
did
be
you
a paladin then.
you keep mentioning Rickrolled? Did you see
Yeah.
my post on Facebook doing the Star Wars scroll and it was Rickrolled?
No, I'll have to check it out after this. So we enter the Enertron. Our health and HP and MP is restored.
They're like, yeah.
But we're still hungry. So that's why that's one of the reasons this future is so dismal, because all they have is something to replenish their sustenance, something to replenish their health without giving them sustenance.
Mm.
And we're about to invade the factory.
It's been so long since I played Chrono Trigger.
And it's always time for replay.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get if we went here before, we couldn't get in here because the track on the left is going against us and we can't run up fast enough. And on the right there's a laser, so we needed to get Robo to override the systems.
That's right. Do his job.
I think I need to get myself a soda.
Okay.
So I think I'll leave you guys.
You
with
should
Rufus.
get yourself off the screen.
I'm gonna put Rufus on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Rufus
Fair
like,
enough.
I got this screen time.
Gotta like get my way out of here.
All right. So if anybody says something in the chat, I cannot comment back. So
No worries. If anything happens here, I'll just read it.
cool. I mean, I can read out loud, so I can definitely say something personal. I can,
Can't type it. There's no
I
typing.
can't type it. So yeah, we got our lazy.
We just
lazy
have to
dog
work
who is
on getting Ben
spoiled.
to grow some extra arms so he can be like a multitasker. Gonna
That
be
We were
dog
like
talking
will
about we were talking about Mortal Kombat. Who is that? That's Goro,
Yeah.
right?
That's right. Goro got the arms.
See,
Get a lot of
Goro,
work done.
I whooped Goro's ass when I played him in the arcade, but Kintaro, his brother in Mortal Kombat 2, oh my god, I think it's about like 20 times before I finally beat him.
He
I
was
don't
like,
know what
I'll
it
let
was.
you win now.
This
Like,
is on the arcade too, so what was
I
that
was
like?
going to say that's like
medium or
dollars
hard?
and dollars of coins.
I was gonna say, coming at
Well,
your wallet.
I might exaggerate a little bit, but I do remember throwing a bunch of coins in that and getting very angry and almost breaking the joystick off the arcade.
Hey, that's
machine.
quite normal. You see my shirt I have on?
Then,
Like,
then I get to Shao Kahn and just.
I don't always
crushed.
die when I play video games, but when I do,
It's Mortal
it's
Kombat.
always the boop, boop, boop game and the most.
No, you want to know the most rage-inducing control smashing game of all time is Ninja Gaiden for Nintendo.
Well,
To this day, oh my god!
yeah, if you get good at it, then you'll be all right.
Get good.
Yeah, whatever. Fine, I'll eat that. You're right. You're right.
You can. Well, I mean, there are some games now, like before. I think old games,
Dark
you
Souls,
could get
sorry.
good. You could get good at games. Like I always laugh at the people that play Dark Souls, like the Dark Souls community. I laugh at them. They're like, these games, yeah, get good, and these games are so hard. I'm like, yeah, okay. I like to see any of you go back and play any actual games that's difficult.
With no continue, no
The-
checkpoint,
yeah, the
no
ninja-
Like
save
I
point.
want to see them, and they don't even know what hard is. Like
Cutthroat.
stop. Okay, you don't even know. Like you're your own little world fake. Like that's all you play is your Dark Souls game. Like you stop. Okay, they're not that difficult. Relax. Okay, I need you to calm down a minute. But there's a difference between difficulty, and there's a difference between I programmed this game in order to up the rear end. Just because I want you to keep playing my game for X amount of time, because I don't plan on making another game for 2 years, 3 years. So I got to make sure that you keep staying on this one. So I'm just going to keep doing this way that I programmed it to make sure that you can't do this and that. When you program your game to do that specifically, that's not real difficulty, because difficulty means I can get better because I put in time, I put in the effort, I learned the way the game works. Things like that. Not that we're going to kill you for sure because we programmed it to do that. Like, I'm not here for your ego rubbing. I don't need.
That's the thing with the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Nintendo. Isn't there something where you need like a pixel perfect thing, or like it was
Game
technically
Genie.
impossible to beat?
Oh, the game.
You need a game GD to beat that game.
Hey, I remember back in the day playing. I love Turtles in Time.
Oh,
Turtles
yeah.
in Time.
Turtles in Time is
Yeah.
fantastic.
I
Turtles
love
Revenge.
Turtles in Time. Yeah. Those are good ones. That's they re-released that. They got a re-release on Switch.
Mhm. Well, that's where we were talking about Shredder's Revenge, or
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the new one. Yeah.
I want to play it.
it's,
I want
it's basically a spiritual successor.
Yep. Unfortunately, I buy games from Limited Run. I hate them with a passion, but I buy games from Limited Run all the time because you get I like physical games, so
Mhm.
I have to get like the physical versions when they come out because I don't buy digital to like ever. So I have some digital games, but it's usually just little here and there. So I got like some free thing or whatever the fuck. But I usually only buy physical games, hence why I have like 700 physical games. But Turtles, when that came back out again, I was like, yes, because I have the Switch, so I got those on the Switch. I think there's still another one that I need to get actually that they re-released. So if you do a limited run, they do like anything if they do a digital version, they'll do a physical release of the thing. But it's if you don't get it when it comes out though, it's really annoying because then the scalpers get it and they put it on eBay and it's like a bajillion dollars, and I'm like, I'm not paying a scalper. I'd rather just not have the game. Thank you.
I got a question, gamers. Do any of y'all know when Ghost of Tsushima is supposed to hit PC? That's what I'm waiting on.
I haven't heard anything for sure on that one. Heck, Ghost of Tsushima, the sequel, will probably be out before that happens.
See, I've been running my mouth to my friends, the council, like, as I'm building a PC, I'm going master race on y'all. I'm ascending.
Oh god,
I'm gonna play. I know I trash talk my friends. What can I say? I got it all built up, and it's like, yeah, still nothing on the PC release. So I'm like, I'm gonna play that because I've been watching them play on other Twitch streams, and it's like, I'm gonna get that.
I'm not sure how well it'll even do, to be honest. That's why it's not.
It's an awesome game.
It
looks
is.
fun.
It's really good. I was really into Ghost of Tsushima. Like I liked it a lot. There's people who didn't like it, but like, they're saying it's supposed to be coming to PC, but I don't know what the date of it is. So, but I'll look into it, see if I hear anything on my end.
The same date as Hunter x Hunter release.
So sometimes when they release certain games on PC, I'll be like, what's the point? It's almost like certain games they'll release on Xbox console, and you'd be like, what's the point? Know your demographic. Know the people that's going to buy your thing. Like, you can release it on the thing, doesn't mean it's going to sell because the people that you're looking for don't even own it. But they do that a lot.
Yep. So I can see that I need 139 more technical points to get to his next skill, but for the other two main characters, there's nothing. So I've hit a wall with them, which means something interesting might be happening soon. And we are nearing the end of this run. I think I'm actually a lot closer than I was expecting, but that's pretty cool.
You're that damn good, then.
No, I was anticipating that I would need to do a lot more managing with the channel and everything, but
that's pretty
I was able to.
Sailings.
I mean, it's still going to be about 2.5 hours, I think, all things considered.
Hello, Martin. Martin's here.
Ooh. Hey, Martin, how's it going? Let's see. Favorite game, put it in the chat.
Favorite game? Oh, that's hard. That's not even fair, Ben.
If we say Pong, as he's that kind of age.
I don't know. I can't say like favorite game. I have favorite games, or I can go favorite
games.
Favorite games in genre. Then I could probably say that. My favorite horror games, obviously I mentioned earlier, Eternal Darkness, along with Kuon and Haunting Ground for sure. I play, of course, I love Resident Evil, but again, Resident Evil is more as Capcom cornered it, which is not a genre, survival horror. Like, oh my god, stop! I really can't with that. But like, it's more like action horror, really. But those three at the top because I really like it when it really scares you and you really can't do a lot of stuff going on. If I have favorite action games, it would be Devil May Cry. Definitely Piano 3. That was on GameCube, not something a lot of people probably played. Had a female lead on that. Some people will probably be like, she's over sexualized, but I'm like, I'm not really bothered by it too much because she has to wear like a skin tight outfit and she does like do butt circles sometimes. She does, which I'm like, I think she's cool because I'm a dancer, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But that, and then RPGs, and that's the one because it's such, it's so hard with that. I would say that it's a more of a probably adventure RPG. Pandora's Tower, because that's more like adventure RPG. That was on that was the GameCube type of era. So and then Last Story, that was another one that came out on the GameCube. I do like Final Fantasy, but I wouldn't call myself a Final Fantasy fan only because I don't like every single Final Fantasy. So I have like certain ones that I like. You know,
there's a lot of misses there too.
There are a lot of misses. So I like 4
in the main,
and then like
in the main,
skips. 8 I like better than 7, but I also like 7 back in the day. But I like 8 more than 7. So I like Squallborn and Cloud. Cloud was annoying.
Completely agree.
Yeah, because Cloud, and when you break down Cloud was like he stole someone else's identity at the end of the day. Like he took Zach's identity. He was a liar. He didn't do this. He didn't do that.
He
I
didn't
mean,
know,
let's just be
though.
honest. Like he didn't know, but that's still his character at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like he's not. There's a lot of falseness going on with Cloud. Okay, and
He's
it's
been stealing
like
your seat as you left.
he's like, I'm
Aw.
taking
Even
all
more
it all.
moreover.
He's like, do you really have to sit back here? He's like, please no. Like I want to take all the space.
You look
But I like-
comfortable.
He is. Look at him. You guys blanking and stuff. I like
Wow.
Squall better because Squall was like a better version of Cloud. You know what I mean? So I like Final Fantasy 8 better. 9 I liked. A lot of people didn't like 9 because you had to Kurt to have kill. You know?
Was it the encounter rate was way too high on it though?
I mean,
The enemy
it's
encounter
like,
rate.
it really was. But like, I don't know. Whenever I played RPGs, I'm a builder. So like I build up for hours on end. I usually like to be a machine. Like I like to be able to just like build up, make my character a boss, and then run through it. Like I like the old days when you could do that. Now they'll do it like, oh, if you build up, it doesn't make a difference. Like it's whatever. Oh well, like you didn't get no better. Your character gets no better, which makes no sense in a lot of cases. Like everyone gets better as time goes on. You learn, you know, you progress. Like if I like the way Morrowind did it back in the day when Elder Scrolls Morrowind first came out, and you would like jump. And then that would go up. Your certain abilities will go up from you doing activities. So I kind of like that because it kind of makes sense, especially when in an RPG setting, you know. So you get stronger. Like if you lift weights, you know, your muscles build. You get stronger.
Yep.
So it kind of makes sense in that setting. And then you have the ones that now they just like kind of like, oh, you can build up for hours, but it's whatever. So I really did like that for the older RPGs. That you could build is your choice to get better, or you just don't want to put the time in. You might have a harder time at finishing it because you didn't want to put all those hours in and building up and getting better weapons or whatever the case may be in this case. And one other game I can't not mention, of course, is Diablo 2. I was a very big Diablo fan. I played it nonstop, very obsessed with Diablo because I love looting. And when you get new weapons and all these different armors and stuff like that, I'm really big into that. But we don't have a lot of that either nowadays. So.
Also, thank you, Amy, for joining in. I'm glad you were able to make it. We are going extra long today, so it's going to be about 2.5, maybe close to 3 hours. But yeah, I'm glad that there was some overlap, and I'm glad that you're here. So thank you for joining in.
You mentioned Final Fantasy. I played up to part 7.
Yeah.
I always like part 6 the most. Out of
Yeah,
all
a lot
them
of people
I
like 6.
Other than that, I don't know what happened to it. I know that didn't they
Still
remake
playing
part
Final
7?
Fantasy. Still got new ones.
I did 15. I didn't. It was
Up and down for people for 15,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, I liked
better than
15.
13, but
When it comes
Well,
to those,
that's a whole nother story.
when it comes to those straight up RPG games like that, I really have to be invested in the story. Otherwise, it's
That's why we're
standing,
there,
standing around
though, you
clicking
know?
on that person. Oh, use magic on him, heal him, and all that. Like I have
Yeah.
to really be invested. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I
the
like
story's
more,
why we're there. Though, so if the story's lacking, then we're gonna have some.
yeah, I need a little faster pace
Problem.
action in some of the games, like God of
Yeah.
War. That's actually the last game I beat was God of War 3. Oh, actually, I almost beat
I
it.
hate to tell you that God of War has changed.
yeah. Well,
It's not as good as it used to be.
I've heard the Ragnarok was fantastic though.
Yeah, my nephew said it was good.
People like it. Let's just okay. If you're a God of War fan from back when God of War was that God of War, it's not the same at all.
Well,
Like
yeah,
you
you're an
know
old
how
man.
that one was, the way he was like, you know, you jump on things. You got that. He's like a boss. Like he do some bad stuff to these bosses. Like Hercules, I don't know what. He really mess up some of these gods, you know. But now it's kind of like now Kratos is like, I need to think about my feelings.
He's gotten
my
too old for this shit.
emotions, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like he's not human. Like stop. Like he's not. Like maybe when we get older as humans, we start reflecting on our past things that we've done because that's just our lives. Our lives end a lot quicker than a god who also might be eternal. You know. So I didn't really care for the direction that they took Kratos, to be honest. And it's kind of like, I mean, I have them, but it was very boring.
Did they move from Greece to Norse mythology?
They did, which is like, I'm not really that big into Norse mythology, to be honest, in that way, like for him, for God of War, but
I love them both equally.
They could have went anywhere, to be honest, but it's kind of like,
I do like seeing more North mythology out there because I'm played out with Greek and Roman stuff, especially
it's
after Percy
fine,
Jackson.
man,
I mean, I love it
because
still, but like I do like
that
I'd like
wasn't
to
a
see more
problem.
Eastern stuff. But
The Eastern stuff would be awesome, but they don't care too much, I just I don't know. God of War just wasn't doing it for me. It was like we called it God of Soy.
Well, this seems to look familiar because we have the old man of time staying at the end with the
Old man time.
street post, lamp post. And now we're learning that when 4 or more people enter the time stream, that one of them needs to be left behind due to space-time continuum, or also physical restraints of Super Nintendo hardware.
Yeah, well, that part. Does
Super
anyone here
Nintendo
remember the
Chalmers.
Immortal or Ultimate Quest of the Avatar?
Nope.
All right, nobody played those. They classic stuff. Like, look them
Anybody
up.
remember Shadow
Really
Man
good.
for PlayStation?
Yeah. Yeah, Shadow Man. Shadow Man. Hello. That cover though. I'm like living in a cover. Oh my goodness.
Cool.
Go back and play the classics. You're just like, wow.
Who
man.
remembers Strider for the original Sega, not
Heck yeah.
Genesis?
Heck yeah.
The old Ghostbusters game on there. What was that
Dude, yes.
Sega Master System? What it was called?
Yeah. I was a Sega player back then. I had like all the Sega's consoles back when they were a thing. Back when they were a thing. The Genesis. I still have a Genesis, and then Saturn was like, yeah. I had the 3DO too.
What about
3DO was like
32X?
my first system. Yeah. Neo Geo was like for the rich kids back in the day.
I would rent that from the video store. Yeah, it was like what, $200, $300 for the whole system. Like
it was the console was like 600.
Oh god,
back
I do
then,
remember.
and each game was like 200.
Jesus,
That's why only the rich kids at the time had it that we called them, because the Neo Geo was a thing that everybody wanted, but it was so high. But nowadays, like that's what the price of the console all more when they first come out, $600.
All right, not to mention, yeah, that's what I did. I go to the video store, rent it for like $10 for the night or whatever.
Yeah, and they had to rent it out, like.
And you're talking about video game difficulties. The Aladdin and a lot of those other games,
that was a
they
fun
made them
game.
explicitly hard because you couldn't beat them in a weekend.
Yeah, they try to make you bring them longer, especially when you was renting. If you're in an arcade again, you're not finishing nothing.
Sewer Shark for Sega CD.
A sewer shark.
Yeah, the one where you're like going through those tunnels, shooting those rats out.
Yeah,
it's like this underground.
Now we've learned lightning, fire, and Robo learns shadow magic.
Does anybody? Yes, right. Who has the lightning? Who got lightning?
Chrono's the only one on our team. Although technically we get somebody who can use multiple magic later on.
Yeah, that's very.
So now we have magic. We can try it out.
I like how he spins and he's like, oh.
So we can experiment with our lightning bolts. Although he is
208. Look at him.
He's very strong. I am not prepared for this battle. I think I'm way too under leveled. I need like 2 more.
I can say you
or 3 more
10?
levels.
Are you on level 10? Yeah.
I haven't been paying attention. I've been trying to.
I saw last time I looked. I think you were on y'all on level 9, but you could be higher.
Fair
now.
enough.
I don't know.
But this is kind of a free battle where you just fight him as best you can, and then when you're done, you get fully revived no matter what. You get really good items by beating him, though.
Yep. Luca's like, I
don't think I even equipped everyone with the best weapons that I can at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Like fingers crossed type of battle. Like, maybe we can do it, guys. Like, we're taking a chance there. We're taking a chance.
This was the final point that I wanted to get up to, so I'm almost done with my playthrough, but I want to show off one last cool thing where we take on the final boss of the game.
Cool.
Not this guy, obviously. This is just Specchio, the God of War.
That would be so funny if he was the last one.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So I can challenge him whenever I want. We now have our guidance of where to go. We want to end back up in our own time, and we're actually going to go to Melchior now that we have less powerful magic. But one really cool thing is that we can take on the final boss right now. So this game was I want to say one of the first to pioneer the New Game Plus. You can, if you beat the game the right way, you can come back and restart it with all of your maxed out stats, most of your items, everything, and you can. Rufus wants attention, so I'm giving him some ear scratches. And you can basically start the game over, but because you are now fully powered up, you can beat the final boss at different stages, and you get different endings for doing so. So there's one where we rescued Marley, and if we beat Lavos before we do that, then technically the queen has still been captured. So I believe there's something where like if we beat it at a certain time, then or sorry, let me give a different one because I do remember that one specifically. So there's later on where we go back into the 65 million BC period. And so if we don't save the humans that are there, because this plays very fast and loose with some history, well, there's humans living alongside dinosaurs, and if we don't save the humans from the dinosaurs, then the dinosaurs overrun them. So you can beat the game in a way where you then see that the dinosaurs have now become humans, or where the humans now look like dinosaurs, and we all have these attributes of various dinosaurs. Hey, Rufus. And so there's one ending where if you beat it a certain way, humans lost the war between the dinosaurs, and so now everyone is essentially dinosaurs.
Nice.
But
open the door, get on.
One really cool thing is that we can go to the Day of Lavos now, which means we challenge the final boss, and obviously I'm going to die. But there's something really cool where Lavos is essentially all of the bosses of the game. And what that means is I'll be able to see, there's the first boss that I fought, which was that dragon tank. Then there's the next boss, which was the one, the Guardian from the future. And we can go through and through and through. And what we can do is you can see how you rank up against these various enemies. So you can sort of see, I'm going to beat the first two pretty handily, but I'll be faced with the next boss that I'm going to see. So it's really cool because you can see how you measure up against what's coming up in the game. And so when I inevitably lose, I'll see how far I can make it in this gauntlet of bosses, and then how well I am likely to fare against them when I fight them by progressing through the game normally.
Rise from the pits.
So we get the Day of Lavos again, and again, there's incredibly dramatic music. Can you post in the links that I sent you about the soundtracks?
I did already.
Oh, cool. Sure. So if you get a chance, I strongly recommend going through and listening to the soundtrack to this game. There's a couple of different links in there. There's one where it's all composed pieces of the various songs. There's another which is very specific to certain pieces, and we want to definitely fight. And also how you choose to fight the final boss matters. So we'll get a time machine. You can crash the time machine into Lavos, which lets you sort of skip over the initial part of the battle and jump right into the extremely hard part. You can take the bucket, which is what we used. You can, there's a couple of other ways that I don't want to spoil here. But so Lavos enters attack mode, and you can see in the background, it looks like the dragon tank that I fought at the when I broke out of the jail.
Yep.
It kind of looks like the brain bug from Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
That guy.
One day, someone that looks like me is gonna come here. Great movie. I kind of want to watch it.
Like it's scared when he like puts his hand on it.
Yeah, we definitely don't see any of the sequels.
Yeah,
those are not very good.
I watched 10 minutes of the second one.
I've seen them. They are good.
I know Rico came back for one of them, but I saw the trailer.
He came back for the third one, I think.
Third one, yeah.
I saw that trailer. I'm like, no, I'm good. Sorry, Rico.
I'm amazed you saw a trailer because I thought they were all directed video.
I think it was probably like a trailer in like a DVD or a video I was watching. I'm like, oh, look, he's back. Looks dumb. Pass.
Yeah, it gets it stays kind of cheesy. Kind of like when you like Tremors, like the first Tremors was really good. Mm-hmm. Second Tremors questionable, and then the rest of the Tremors is like, but I still seen them though because
had they brought
the first
back
was good because Kevin Bacon. So
yeah,
had they brought back Michael Ironside or Neil Patrick Harris for a Starship Trooper sequel,
they stopped not being able to get anybody. They did get I forget his name, the guy who was married to Reba McEntire. He came back for like a few of them, I think. It kind of became his movie after a while.
Who?
I gotcha.
The one was married to Reba McEntire.
What movie though?
Tremors.
Oh, he was in
Forget
this
his
horror
name.
movie called Cast a Deadly Spell that I really like from back in
Yeah,
the day.
because
Fred
he's a
Willard.
horror actor, pretty much. So.
And so now we have to fight against the Guardian in 2300.
Oh.
It's not mushrooms to put a curse on you, Adrian. I should probably shouldn't have told you that.
Looks like Adrian was saying, "Am I on mushrooms again?
Oh,
What am I
I
watching
think he might actually be in because no, scroll down on this side. There we go. Sorry, Adrian. Welcome.
Adrian.
You were just in time for the end. Sorry.
Hello.
Hey, no, that's okay. That's on me. I overslept big time. My apologies.
Also, I'm busy eating
Sleep is good.
macaroni and cheese
It's important.
bites
Yeah.
Yes,
and
it's
not
good for the
doing
blood.
my job.
I was going to say the person was the person who was monitoring this was making a lunch and we had a.
That's
I'm
okay.
hungry.
No worries.
I've been quietly lurking in here and listening to you guys for the last few minutes and looking at the trippy visuals on the screen.
Have you never played this game?
I've never even seen it before. What is this?
Oh, this is Chrono
Do
Trigger.
you know who
man.
Akira Toriyama is? I would imagine you might know, Adrian.
The name definitely sounds very
Artist
familiar.
for
But,
Dragon
Dragon
Ball Z.
I'm not a big Dragon Ball guy. Sorry.
What about what's the other game that he is the artist for? One I don't really like it. It's Dragon something.
Oh, Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest. Thank you.
Dragon Quest I've heard of.
He is the artist for Dragon Quest. All his art looks the same. So this is why Chrono Trigger looks similar to Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Quest
Gotcha.
and something else he did too. So he does like the art for that stuff.
I have all that written down here. It's I'm going to butcher their name.
I mean,
I'm
these
going to-
graphics are taking me back to when I was a kid. Man.
Classic,
This is
man.
crazy. Classic.
So it's Akira Toriyama, Hironobu Sakaguchi, and Yuji Horii.
Oh, I was
Yep.
wondering how you were just rattling those off.
So-
Are they written down?
They are written down on my script here. That's why
Unless you're like just
Cheater.
remembering
my live
them,
site
but
drops
you're
down to
What
here.
a phony.
Cheater.
Yeah, Richard's like a phony. You're just reading them off.
Acting like you know when you don't know.
Because
Hey,
otherwise
Adrian.
they might butcher their names.
He was rattling
Unlikely.
Hey, man,
story.
it's still pretty good, I have to tell you, because people can look at them and still butcher their names. So
Yeah.
doing
That's
pretty
pretty
good. Doing
That's
pretty good.
Katsuhiro Otomo.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Show about him,
Show
Adrian.
off. Show
How's that?
off.
Katsuhiro Otomo.
Pretty
Yes.
good.
Shoot.
I really, when I'm
Didn't
playing
do
video
that.
games, I hear people try to pronounce certain titles of certain
He's a
video
big
games because I
ass, he's a
speak
big
Japanese.
weak.
I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what are they doing? They think this is English or something? Stop! Like, it really is annoying, but hey,
Listen, I lost track of what was going on a long time ago.
we know, Richard, we know.
Accents are hard. You ever hear a hillbilly try to talk with a northern accent or do an impression of it? It's bad.
Good thing.
Richard, I
don't
didn't
know.
even realize you were here because you were being so quiet. It's so uncharacteristic of you.
He said, I don't know what you want me to say.
It's been like that all day. Just, posting snarky British comments in the chat.
Why does the boss's
Well,
head
that
look-
part is normal. That's just par for the course
So,
with Richard. But I'm
this is a
I'm-
boss-
yeah.
This is the next boss, and it's weak to magic, so it's a good thing that we have all our magic abilities here. But
Hang on, there's
this
magic
upcoming
in
boss
this
we haven't
game?
actually fought. We just got it. We went to the end of time to get magic.
What is it supposed to be? Like some evil god or something?
This thing, yes. You'll find
Why
out
does
more
it look
about
like an evil turd coming out of the middle of that thing?
It's a brain bug.
It definitely looks
Sounds
like
like
it's got a
Stormtroopers.
butthole face. Yeah.
Yeah, Stormtroopers, man.
It looks like it's modeled after the Demodex, like the little things that live on your eyelashes.
Almost anything that could open like that. Tremors also, you need a worm.
Or a
type
giant
creatures.
tick.
Yeah, that part
Yeah.
there. The rest of
Well,
it, the mouth part here. is
That's what it is.
I think
Like a
Adrian
giant
just
tick.
learned what Demodex is.
I did, and it's unpleasant. I don't want to know more. That's,
Well, that's what-
enough.
So it's good that you said
I'm
this
like,
was a
I
tick,
must know
RC.
more. That's me.
It's good that you said it was like a tick, RC, because it's siphoning it. Well, spoilers. It arrived on our planet and is siphoning off the life energy of the planet and directing life on Earth until it could suit its own needs, and then it eventually gets
It
strong
also
enough,
makes
and
them all allergic to meat.
it gets strong enough, and then it leads to another to find another planet to act like a tick for.
Yeah.
What is? Wait, makes you allergic to meat? Kill that thing.
There's a tick that makes you allergic to meat.
Yeah, I know. Heard
Get
it.
rid
It's
of it.
horrible.
Get rid of it now. I don't want to know.
Just go stop stomping through the
So-
woods and you should be okay.
I've never called for genocide, but yeah, it does look like a tick, and now you say that, definitely.
Yeah.
Brief counteract break. Good. I can maybe survive. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Okay. So the entire reason why it was so difficult was because it was counterattacking what I was doing. So
Mhm.
I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't learning. I was just kind of mindlessly attacking it with magic, and that's not what you want to do to this boss.
Has to be strategical.
Yep. Strategery. Although I think I'm dead. Yep, I'm dead.
Done.
So now is where things start falling apart because with one person dead. So it says go ahead, try and attack, which means you definitely don't want to attack it.
You don't want to take it off.
He kicked off the covers. That's not my fault. Our dog explicitly wants to get tucked in.
This is an ongoing argument every day. Someone didn't tuck the dog back in.
Because he kicks them. We'll tuck him in explicitly, and then he'll just kick everything off.
How old is
Sounds
he?
about
Sometimes
right.
wakes us up in the middle of the night to be tucked back in.
Oh yeah, he is a spoiler.
Like, stop kicking it off.
Mm-hmm. How old is he?
Like
7?
Oh,
They never
Big
grow out of
baby.
that.
he's a big puppy
Yes.
dog.
He is a big puppy dog.
It's okay.
Getting all the love and the attention. He's like, listen, you gonna tuck my blanket, and when I kick it off, you gonna tuck it back, okay?
Like I said, he did that actually in the middle of the night tonight. Last night. He oh shoot, I don't want to try and attack. Oh well, I'm about to get counterattacked. Should have paid attention.
No, here it comes. Counter. No one died, so that's good.
No one died, but we're very close.
Pretty low there. The weight meters. When I check RPGs now, I'm like, if this is turret based, I think I'm gonna avoid it now.
This seems about right. You finally go beyond time and space and encounter something beyond you, and it's a big blood-sucking parasite.
Makes sense.
Yes, perfect
Definitely
sense.
does.
Oh, good.
That's
Something
right.
to look forward to in our future.
I
That's
think
right.
I think Lovecraft saying
Oh,
that,
shoot.
I think Lovecraft said that in true horror you will find the irony.
Yeah, well.
I thought you were going to say the Irish for a minute.
Oh my.
Hey, at least they don't put mashed peas in their hot dogs.
Oh, what? Oh.
Oh. I've already ranted about that enough. Trust me.
Oh, that sounds. Oh.
It's time to get on to something more disgusting.
Y'all keep
Part
grossing
two.
me out, man. First is tiny parasites that live on your body, and now
They
this.
live on your eyelashes.
Don't specify. Don't get more specific.
I had to
I'm
pull,
being
Cut off
vague
our
on
eyelashes.
purpose.
I had
Well,
to
if we
pull a
could
tick
see
on
all
my
the
dog's
bugs
ear.
that was on our bodies, we wouldn't be sleeping comfortably.
I did not request elaboration.
You'll never hear a more human cry than a dog screech when you're pulling a giant tick out of
There's
its ear, Adrian.
significantly
Yeah, well.
more bacteria and stuff living on your body than you know.
Yes, that's how we
Uh-oh.
function. Like
And
we're
you're-
the bugs for the planet.
Trillions of bacteria in your digestive system.
Yeah.
You're alive.
For now, everything's sort of fading.
Ben, did you access all your questions for the gaming?
Yeah,
writing
yeah,
thing?
yeah. I mean,
Cool. You got
I was
them?
just
Awesome.
seeing
Thanks for
how-
inviting me, by the way, man. You're on my first
course.
live stream, so I definitely felt.
Ah, shoot. Well, everybody's dead now.
Who is that? Who's speaking? I can't see their face.
Yeah, I've been fucking all
He's
day.
picking on you, RC.
You've seen the can of
All right,
Adrian.
last hit. Can I do it?
Heavily on the mystery to sell it.
Oh,
Adrian.
Yeah.
You seem to have trouble with my
No.
voice alone. Why would I show you my face and have your head
And that's
explode?
I don't have trouble with your voice alone. Your voice is magnificent.
he does have.
Yeah,
Like-
butter on bagel, right?
He said, "Who needs a face when I have this voice?" Like,
Butter on a biscuit, man. Just butter on
Butter
a
on a bagel
biscuit.
is a crime.
I think it's like the Phantom of the Opera.
And time refused to change.
Well,
And
he
the
was a
world-
musician.
We'll see it.
Props.
And the world refused to change.
Eric.
Dun, dun, dun.
So now you watch
Director's
The Last Moments of Humanity in 1999.
I was just watching, what was it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the original silent version.
Yeah,
So good.
it's
Where
good.
did you even find that?
Tubi.
Yep,
No
TV.
kidding.
We give
Everything
you the
is
classics.
on the internet. How do I have to tell this to someone currently live streaming on the internet?
You can find everything you want on the internet. It's crazy.
Google it.
I had to dig for necromantics, so you might have to look.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't recommend watching. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're just an edgelord that wants, to test yourself.
We have time.
Mm-mm-mm.
But the director decides to go down with the failing dome.
Well, might as well. What's the difference? No matter where you run.
Just like James Cameron should have. Sick burn.
That's the planet's like. No.
James, anyone see that new Avatar?
The future refused to change. There we go. I was right. It was.
Is this the bad ending then?
This is the bad ending. Yes, we died.
I mean, is it though? Like from a horror perspective, is it the bad ending? I
Robots
mean,
rise up.
if the planet is still there, then
So yeah,
You
that
make
is
an excellent
everything.
point. Yeah,
We're just a
that's good point.
surface nuisance.
it's just the bugs on the planet. Let's just be honest, it's like the bugs on our body.
Shake us off like fleas.
Stop bringing up the bugs on our body. What is going on today?
You know, I am revising my body horror story about a person turned into a spider, Adrian.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
He's like, no, thank you.
I'm gonna hard pass on that, bud.
What if I'd give it to you in audible?
No,
Ooh, that's even
worse.
What if it's me saying it to you? It might kind of, alleviate the pain a little bit.
Only if you do it on camera.
Now you know you won't.
That's too much for you, man. I don't want to hurt you.
I would prefer to be told this story
Why you
via
scared?
interpretive dance.
Interpretive dancing.
I can handle interpretive
Pull that
dance.
off.
I think for that we need to go onto RC's OnlyFans.
Oh my
It's only face, man. Don't look for me on that
Only
site. I
face.
think someone set up a fake account on there for me. It's
Only
only
Yeah,
face.
yeah,
Not fans.
That's-
Only
that's-
feet. Am I doing
It's
it
not
wrong?
a fake account.
Well, Ben's is rubbing to right, isn't it?
Ben's like,
Richard, that's bad.
no, Richard.
Never before.
Stop.
Going to put you in a timeout.
Yeah, we have to designate the no Richard. I had it last time, so somebody else could.
Now just roll up a newspaper, hit him on the head, take his tea, and then throw it in the harbor.
Are we
Oh
still talking about
my.
RC? Are we hitting RC with a rolled up newspaper?
No, this is Adrian. You missed Adrian's rubbing to right.
No, I heard
Oh,
it.
fair
He's thinking
All right.
RC should also get punished.
So I
Yeah.
do have a couple of closing things
Bring
about Chrono Trigger, and I wanted to explain why it gives such a compelling story. So as you see right now, everything comes down to heart. Every character is driven by some core need. The one exception largely being the silent protagonist, but then he's driven by those around him and the need to save the world. So you have the princess Marley who wants to repair the relationship with her father. You have the mechanic who wants to build safe machines for the one time that her machine hurt somebody she loved. The robot, or technically it was her father's, but the one time she was unable to save people using machines. You have the robot who wants to understand humanity and why we were destroyed. You have the frog who wants redemption to protect a princess or a queen when others failed. And so every single character in here, and even side characters, you have Toma the adventurer. So much of this is driven by a core need that it's just easy to get wrapped up in this game. Like this 2.5 hours has just flown by for me because I was experiencing something that was so incredible in terms of storytelling. Like we mentioned, those three different storytellers. So we have Akira Toriyama, Nobuo Sakaguchi, and
Just
Yuji
read them off the
Horii.
script.
So we have those three creators. We have Masato Kato, who was the screenwriter, scriptwriter, and then we have Yasunori Mitsuda and Nobuo Uematsu, who were the musical creators, and they all came together for such an incredible experience.
A lot of
That is
people's
this game.
hands in it to make the story come
Exactly.
together. Yeah.
And so yeah, this is such an incredible game, and even the mechanics of it. So the way the battles are told, the way that we can move in between enemies, the way we can explicitly choose who we want to fight and when and how. And even with the final boss, like in between each of those little battles, I got a pause where I could just heal up and change out my party members and decide what team setup would be best to go against the next upcoming enemy.
Yep.
And then there's also just the mechanics that I explained earlier, where everything is built up, where we learn our final ultimate spells. Just when we think we're about to beat the game, the rug gets pulled out from under us, and we open up the game from going to being this tragedy where everything is kind of doomed into a comedy where we can actually start repairing the world. So
A lot of
yeah,
players.
this is Chrono Trigger, and you've got a nice little intro into it from the start to the end of time. So I guess we can go through and start doing some outros if you want, because that's all I got for today.
Yep.
So
Who wants to
Hi
go first?
then.
throw someone up there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You're on, buddy.
I'm me. I wrote this book. Go buy it now. Thank you. Oh, Jesus.
By the way, Price War is wonderful. Richard does not do it justice. It is very engaging. And speaking about upcoming futures, Price War is a very good gauge of what will happen if Amazon ever takes over a country.
I never said Amazon in the book, Ben.
You're right. Sorry. Yellowstone, a clearly not Amazon stand-in.
And of course, the one of the characters is definitely not Elon Musk / Jeff Bezos. So
Definitely not.
I feel
Definitely
obligated
not.
to point out that Amazon acquired a new pharmacy, but apparently the fact that JetBlue wants to acquire Spirit Airlines has gotten the Department of Justice involved. So I'm glad someone's doing their job super well.
Somebody sometime.
I love the sarcasm.
Right. Who's up next?
The person we can't see.
RC.
There's no one there. Where are they?
You can't see here nothing at all. This is RC Scott. I write horror. I talk smack on my YouTube channel. I blog. I troll England. I shill from my musician friends. And I also am trying to suck less at video gaming and getting into that. Possibly doing Twitch at some point. You guys can watch me fail in real time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rufus is very upset now.
Oh, it's hi to the doggo. I love dogs. I know.
He's no longer comfy sitting between us because we wouldn't let him take up more and more of the couch.
Oh.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everyone. Author DL Tillery, the Mistress of Horror. And you can catch me over on my channel doing all the scary things. Also, just talking about my writing journey. Like tomorrow, my writer's blog will be live. On every Sunday, I do release a video. At the beginning of the month, I usually show my writing or reading habits of the month before, or I may do a tag video on the second Sunday, like this one that's coming up. I do my writer's blog, and I may show some videos of me writing, things like that. Then on the third Sunday, I do a show called Mistress Mood and Candlelight, where I do a type of review while putting on makeup, rather that be a horror book, a horror video game, or a horror movie that I'm covering at the time. And then at the end of the month, the last Sunday, my series Lair of the Mistress, of where I do my horror or dark poetry readings. So you can catch a whole bunch of stuff over here on my channel. And if you haven't read my stuff, check out Amazon for The Room Within and or Fractals. And stay scared. That's right. Enter evil life.
I want that skull.
I really like that outro because while you were doing that, Rufus kind of readjusted and now he's on my lap and nobody saw him almost knock over my microphone.
Can I son Ben, did you name him after Bill and Ted Rufus or?
I named Rufus.
Oh, Rufus.
Excellent.
Look at him.
Oh, good boy.
He's explicitly not looking at the camera.
He should have his own
He's
panel
trying to
on
lick
here.
you. He's like that.
Permanent co-host.
Rufus can be found on Instagram at Rufus the Plot House.
He does look a little bit like Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Whoa.
Oh, my turn. Hey. Sorry that I was late. I work overnight and I overslept.
Well, slept enough.
Slept enough. I woke up 5 minutes before my alarm and I was like, oh, cool. I can sleep another 5 minutes. And then I blinked and it was like an hour and a half. So I'm very, very sorry. I apologize.
No
My
worries.
name is Adrian Santiago. I am an author and YouTube content creator. If you don't know who I am, go check out my stuff, Books by Adrian. It's all under Books by Adrian. And I currently have a short story ebook with some sample chapters from my upcoming novel. It is available for 99 cents as an ebook right now. It's also available as a paperback, but it's too expensive. It looks nice, but it's expensive.
looks
So
nice.
get the
Love the
ebook. Oh, thank you. I made this myself.
It is.
And then and I've got my debut novel coming out April 30th. It's available for pre-order in most places, except for Amazon. They're still twiddling their thumbs. But
Amazon.
check out booksbyadrian.com and you can get a link there to all the currently active pre-order sites, and we're adding new ones every day. So check that out. Sign up for the newsletter. And I'm on Goodreads, so go like leave reviews and star ratings and stuff because I got a book coming out, so I need that.
Yay, get it.
Before I forget, I'm streaming with that guy tomorrow on my channel.
Which guy?
Who?
Who's that?
The faceless
say it.
against the guy with hair on his face. And I'm going to serenade him with my voice. Like
Yeah.
butter on a
Awesome.
biscuit.
I'll
Check it
just be a puddle of emotions. On
But
your
I do have a
channel.
surprise for you, though, just so you can
Uh-oh.
kind of add on to it.
Uh-oh.
I don't like surprises.
You might actually
Them's
see his
fighting
face.
And no,
words.
I'm not showing my face, but get that out of your head right away.
Well, then I don't want it. If that's not the surprise,
I don't
I
wanna
don't want it.
Well, guess what, kid? You're getting it anyway.
Nothing as successful YouTube channel like never showing your face.
I am making it my life's mission to get this guy's face on screen. Like
So you're just
I
going to
need
show up
see
and
it.
you're going to
I want to
drive
give
in-
Adrian
drive
an
to Chicago
award
and-
if he
In
can.
the bushes outside his house with a telephoto lens, just
Not stalking at all.
No, this is research. It's very important research for everyone on the internet. Everyone wants to know. We're all very curious. We hear that voice and we think, oh, must be a very handsome gentleman. I just want to make sure he's not a goblin. That's all. Like, I just want to see.
Can't make any promises.
Have you ever seen that episode of Beavis and Butthead when they call that phone sex line and that woman has such a seductive voice and they finally flash her in the trailer? You know, might as well just get that standard. Everything else will be good after that.
Is that RC's day job?
Well, maybe the fact that, probably only areas of my life where I feel like I have control. So guess what?
Oh,
You
come
get-
on,
what you
man.
get-
You're bumming
what you
me
get-
out. I
what you
just
get-
got here.
Why can't you be happy with what you have, my man?
Whatever. Always reach for the stars,
Always
brother.
reaching for the stars.
Fair enough.
Might come across
All
a Cthulhu.
It's not about what I look like. It's about the horrible message I have to send. Everything dies. That's basically
We
pretty
just
much-
saw, but the future refused to change.
Yeah.
And anyways,
Best.
this is my channel, and I want to thank all of you so much for being here for 100 episodes. I genuinely would not be here if it weren't for you all. And as you can tell by the lovely banter in tonight's episode, this is an incredible community to be part of. And I'm just so thankful to have met you all and to have shared some of my experiences with you. So I want to thank the incredibly talented panel of people and friends who have joined me today. I want to thank all of you who show up every episode and who watch all my content and who appreciate the info that I put out there as my dog is licking my arm. And and yeah, this is Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me on Running to Write. I hope to be here for another 100 episodes. So
Oh, and 200
Take care,
subs, man.
Cheers,
Look at that.
man.
Woo!
Hell
Yeah, 200, man.
Climbing. Get going.
thank you. You all are awesome.
Snaps.
All right, well, you can
Snaps.
shut down and have a great weekend, everyone. Play Chrono Trigger if you
Bye.
want, and I'll see you next time.